I made a billion by teaching a beautiful woman how to drive. Slow down, slow down. Inside a training car, a young housewife in black stockings gripped the steering wheel tightly, her body stiff with tension. Her foot was pressing hard on the pedal, and her panicked eyes stared ahead. The car was speeding straight toward the public restroom by the side of the driving course. You're hitting the gas. Hit the brakes. A young man sitting in the backseat, enjoying the AC, was so frightened that he grabbed the armrest. Some driving schools install blocks under the accelerator to prevent this kind of mistake, but not this one. Which one is the brake? The panicked woman was completely frozen, her mind blank. She couldn't even remember which pedal was the brake. The one in the middle. Step on the middle one. The young man knew that just shouting brake wouldn't help. He had to give her clear instructions. Finally, just before they crashed into the restroom, the car came to a stop. That scared the hell out of me. Still in shock, the woman clutched her ample chest, patting it over and over. After a while, she turned to the young man in the back and said, "Handsome, thank you so much. If it weren't for you, the coach would yelled at me like crazy." The young man waved his hand. "No need to thank me. I just didn't want to take a dive into a toilet pit. Still, I want to thank you. How about this? After our training today, Big Sis will treat you to a hotel dinner, okay?" She winked at him flirtatiously, her face full of charm. "I've got no time. Oh, I'm gonna hit the restroom first. You keep practicing." The young man quickly made up an excuse to get out of the car. His name was Lucci. He had just finished the college entrance exam and enrolled in a driving school. That woman always came to practice in short skirts and black stockings, dolled up and speaking in a sultry tone to everyone. Clearly, she wasn't your average student. Lucci liked pretty women, sure, but not the kind that screamed danger in big red letters. Also, to him, she didn't even come close to his goddess-like next-door neighbor. "What the hell are you doing? I've been teaching you for days, and you still can't tell the gas from the brake." The coach ran over and yelled at the woman in the car, still sweating bullets from the scare. "Coach, I didn't mean to, okay?" She pouted and wiggled a little, trying to act cute. The coach gulped, clearly charmed. "Looks like I'll have to teach you hands-on from now on." Not far away, Lucci saw the whole thing and thought, "Yep, coach is totally under her spell." Since he couldn't chill in the car anymore, Lucci found shade under a tree and started playing on his phone. Most people learning to drive daydream about what kind of car they'll buy after they get their license. Lucci was no different. He scrolled through pictures of sports cars on his phone. But deep down he knew, with his family's financial situation, a sports car was out of the question. He'd be lucky to get a BYD after college. Ding! Progress Life System successfully bound to host. Suddenly, a robotic voice rang out in Lucci's mind. "Who's there?" Lucci jumped in shock. After a few stunned moments, he realized he had gotten a system, just like in those web novels. "System, what powers do you have? How can you change my life?" he asked excitedly. The Progress Life System rewards you for every meaningful improvement in your life, be it learning to drive, dating, or any other area. Just make progress, and you'll be rewarded. Lucci grinned. Now that's what I call a useful system, positive and exciting. Half an hour later, it was Lucci's turn to practice. Though he hadn't yet mastered reverse parking after 2 days of practice, today he was hyper-focused, driven by the hope of earning rewards. And when someone is truly focused, their learning efficiency skyrockets. In under 10 minutes, Lucci flawlessly backed the car into the parking spot. One success might be been luck, but after repeating it perfectly 3 more times, it was clearly skill. Ding! Congratulations, host has learned reverse parking. Reward, 1 little red flower. Lucci already knew what that meant. Little red flowers could be exchanged for lottery spins in the system. Ding! Host has redeemed 1 lottery spin. Spin in progress. Ding! No prize this time. Thank you for participating. Lucci frowned. Seriously? His first spin was a dud. Unwilling to give up, he drove over to the parallel parking area to practice, hoping to earn another spin. The coach had only briefly gone over the steps for parallel parking, and under normal circumstances, Lucci would need more guidance. But the coach was too busy flirting with the black-stockinged lady under a tree to help. Lucci focused intensely. The tips the coach gave earlier flashed clearly through his mind. He pushed himself harder than ever before. And in just over 10 minutes, he nailed parallel parking. Ding! Congratulations, host has learned parallel parking. Reward, one little red flower. Redeem for a lottery spin. Lu Chi shouted without hesitation. Spin in progress. His palms were sweaty with anticipation. If this one failed too, he'd start thinking the system was broken. Ding! Spin complete. Congratulations, host has won a double color ball lottery number. Finally, not a dud. System, what is the use of this lottery number? He asked. It's the winning number for the next double color ball draw. What? Lu Chi was stunned. He had bought double color ball tickets for his dad before. He knew first prize usually meant over 5 million yuan. And with multiple bets, that could mean hundreds of millions. System. Show me the winning numbers. He was so excited he nearly jumped out of the driver's seat. Next draw as winning numbers, red balls, 01, 02, 03, 12, 14, 25. Blue ball, 06. Note, multiplying bets more than 10x may alter results. There was a warning. So to guarantee the win, he could only buy up to 10 tickets. Still, that meant 10 first prizes, or at least 50 million yuan. System, you're awesome. For the first time, Lu Chi truly realized just how powerful the system was. Handsome, you're so quick you even learned parallel parking. The black-stockinged woman looked at him admiringly. Could you teach big sis how to drive too? The coach's face immediately darkened, afraid Lu Chi would steal his chance. Better let the coach teach you. I've got things to do. Lu Chi had no interest in getting tangled up with her. He quickly hopped on his bike and rode to a lottery shop. He entered the winning numbers as given by the system and bought 10 tickets. That night, the lottery numbers matched exactly. Lu Chi had won 10 first prizes, each worth 7 million yuan. That night, Lu Chi couldn't sleep. He lay awake dreaming about how to spend the money, how to surprise his parents, and how to wow the goddess next door. The next morning, he rushed to the lottery center to claim his prize. After the 20% tax, he took home 56 million yuan. At the staff's request, he donated 1 million to charity. When he walked out of the center, it all felt like a dream. His bank account now held 55 million yuan. His first bucket of gold was enormous. More importantly, it was clean money, with no strings attached. Chapter 2, The Girl Next Door. After receiving his award, Lu Chi immediately rushed to the driving school to practice. He began by reviewing reverse parking and parallel parking. He was able to complete both smoothly in a short amount of time. Clearly, he had mastered them completely. Next up was the serpentine drive. First attempt, the vehicle crossed the boundary line. Second attempt, the wheels rolled right over it. After 2 failures, Lu Chi gradually got the hang of it. Spurred on by the lure of system rewards, his concentration reached an all-time high. As a result, his learning efficiency shot through the roof. On the third try, he successfully navigated the S-curve. That single success seemed to unlock the door. He didn't fail again in the following attempts. Ding! Congratulations, host has mastered the serpentine drive. You are awarded 1 little red flower. The system's voice echoed in Lu Chi's mind. Redeem lottery spin. Ding! Spinning. This spin yielded no prize. Thank you for participating. Though he didn't win anything, Lu Chi wasn't discouraged. System prizes were always extraordinary, so it was normal not to win every time. With his driving time not yet over, Lu Chi continued with right-angle turns. Under high focus, Lu Chi's coordination and reaction time were fully tapped into. First attempt, forgot to signal. Second attempt, passed smoothly. He then did 2 more practice rounds, both flawless. Ding! Congratulations, host has mastered right-angle turns. You are awarded 1 little red flower. The system chimed again. Redeem lottery spin. Ding! Spinning. Congratulations. You've won a business opportunity. Would you like to view details? He won something again. Lu Chi was secretly delighted and immediately checked the details. Tomorrow, at Jade Treasure Pavilion on Antique Street in the South District, a batch of new jadeite rough stones will be released. Among them, one stone priced at 200,000 yuan contains jade worth 150 million yuan. After reading this, Lu Qi was overjoyed. This opportunity was a guaranteed profit. Spend 200,000 and make over 100 million. Way better than winning the lottery. Hey handsome, how did you learn so fast? Can you teach your big sis a few tricks? A sultry woman in black stockings, sitting in the back seat enjoying the air conditioning, looked at Lu Qi with envy. She had been learning for a week and still couldn't manage reverse parking. The techniques are just what the instructor taught us, Lu Qi replied. Then why haven't I gotten it after all this time? She said, a bit frustrated. Everyone learns at a different pace. It's normal, he comforted. Oh, thanks for the comfort. Can I add your WeChat? I'd love to ask you more later. Looking at her long legs wrapped in sheer black stockings, Lu Qi nearly agreed. But in the end, he declined. He always remembered the saying, a man has to protect himself out there. Lu Qi didn't chat much with the sultry woman. He continued using his time to practice the hill start. During the drills, he only stalled once before basically mastering it all in under 10 minutes. In a single driving session, Lu Qi had mastered serpentine driving, right angle turns, and hill starts. His speed made the woman in black stockings envious beyond belief. Even Lu Qi himself was surprised by his potential. When he first started learning, he never thought he had any talent for driving. He was actually pretty slow. But ever since the system appeared yesterday, his focus had been razor sharp, and his hidden potential fully awakened. Ding! Congratulations, host has mastered hill starts. You are awarded one little red flower. The system promptly handed him another reward. Redeem lottery spin. Spinning. No prize this time. Thank you for participating. This time, he didn't win anything. Since he had already learned all of Module 2, if he wanted more rewards, he'd have to start learning Module 3. But because he was progressing too quickly, he'd only completed 10 total hours, still not enough to sign up for the Module 2 exam. So even though he'd already mastered everything in Module 2, Lu Qi had to stick around and keep logging more hours. Under current regulations of a maximum of 4 hours per day, the earliest he could register was in 2 days. Lu Qi finished all 4 of his driving hours for the day and returned home by dusk. Just as he walked in, his phone rang. Caller ID, Su Xiangmi. Seeing the name made Lu Qi smile. Su Xiangmi was the girl next door, beautiful and kind. Hey, Xiao Qi, have you eaten yet? As soon as he picked up, her gentle, soothing voice came through the phone. Not yet. What's up, Xiangmi Jie? I'm not working overtime today and made a few dishes. Come eat with me. Awesome, I'm coming. Ever since Su Xiangmi moved in 2 years ago, Lu Qi had lost count of how many times he'd freeloaded meals from her. So without hesitation, he walked right up and knocked on apartment 502's door. As the door opened, Lu Qi was met with a stunning face. Willow leaf eyebrows, autumn water eyes, a delicate nose, cherry lips, a true beauty. Su Xiangmi was the epitome of grace and charm. In terms of looks, Lu Qi thought she could easily outshine TV stars. National treasure level beauty wasn't even an exaggeration. Come in, Xiao Qi. Su Xiangmi smiled sweetly, a smile that could topple a kingdom. It was hot out, and at home, she wore her hair in a ponytail, paired with a t-shirt and short shorts that hugged her curvy figure. Her ample bust made Lu Qi's heart race. When she bent down to get him slippers, her plump hips and snow-white, shapely legs were on full display barely a meter away. Lu Qi couldn't help but gulp. There's one more dish left. Have a seat for now. After welcoming him in, Su Xiangmi went back to the kitchen. Lu Qi, of course, didn't just sit there. He went to the kitchen to help. Watching her focused side profile as she cooked, Lu Qi sighed inwardly. She's just too perfect. Who's going to be lucky enough to marry her someday? 10 minutes later, they sat at the dinner table. Xiangmi Jie, your cooking is better than my mom's now. After one bite of her braised pork, Lu Qi couldn't help but praise her. Over the past 2 years, he had watched her go from kitchen novice to culinary master. If your mom heard that, she'd be upset, Su Xiangmi giggled. Har har, I'm just telling the truth. Hearing Lu Qi's compliments made her feel genuinely proud. She asked, how's your driving practice going? Pretty good. I've basically finished Module 2. Wow, that's fast. I remember it took me nearly half a month. Xiangmi Jie, you're so beautiful and a great cook. If you also picked up driving fast, what chance do other girls even have? You really have a sweet mouth today, huh? The two of them ate and chatted, the atmosphere warm and cozy. Lu Qi loved this kind of vibe. Su Xiangmi was both gentle and intelligent. Talking to her always chased his worries away. In modern apartment life, neighbors rarely interact. When Su Xiangmi first moved in, they weren't that close. But one day, the elevator broke down and trapped them both inside. She had claustrophobia and was on the verge of panic. Lu Qi calmed her down with jokes and small talk during the hour-long ordeal. After that, they grew closer. A graduate of a prestigious university, she even tutored him on weekends. Thanks to her help, his grades had improved significantly. Though results hadn't come out yet, Lu Qi estimated he could get into a 211 university. Xiao Qi, I'm moving out next month. I probably won't be able to cook for you anymore. After dinner, Su Xiangmi broke the news. What? Why? Lu Qi couldn't process it immediately. He'd gotten used to her being next door. If she left, who would help tutor him? Who would he turn to when he needed comfort? My dad's sick. His treatment costs a lot. I'm moving to a cheaper place in the urban village to save money. She didn't hide anything. A trace of sadness appeared on her fair face. The current apartment cost 2,600 yuan a month. Normally, she could afford it. But with her father now gravely ill and long-term treatment expected to cost over 1,000,000 yuan, she, as the eldest daughter, had to shoulder most of the burden. At that moment, Lu Qi fully understood her situation. If this had been before, he wouldn't have been able to help. But now money wasn't an issue. Xiangmi Jie, I'll help you. Lu Qi said solemnly. Seeing how serious he was, Su Xiangmi felt a bit touched. She replied softly, I appreciate it, but the treatment costs I'll manage them myself. No need to trouble your parents. She assumed he planned to ask his parents for money, and since his family wasn't exactly wealthy, she didn't want to put pressure on them. Lu Qi didn't explain much. He simply said, Xiangmi Jie, can you send me your dad's medical file? I have some classmates whose parents are doctors. Maybe they can recommend better treatment options. Okay. Su Xiangmi then forwarded her father's medical records to Lu Qi. From the documents, Lu Qi got the name and hospital info. The next morning, he transferred 1,000,000 yuan directly into her father's hospital account. Later that afternoon, Su Xiangmi learned from her mother that an anonymous donor had added 1,000,000 yuan. She was stunned. Who could be so generous? A relative? No, none of their relatives were wealthy. One of her admirers. She thought of a few rich second-generation suitors. But would they really help her quietly, with no strings attached? Would they even know about her dad's condition? Even if they were willing to help, they'd definitely make demands. Who could it be? Su Xiangmi, smart as she was, never suspected Lu Qi. After all, who would imagine a freshly graduated high school student from an average family could casually drop 1,000,000 like that? Chapter 3, Sky-High Price Jade. Su Xiangmi felt uneasy until she found out who was secretly helping their family. That afternoon, Su Xiangmi took leave and returned to her hometown. She planned to apply to their hospital to view the recharge records of her father's hospitalization account to see who transferred the 1,000,000. Just when Su Xiangmi went home, Lu Qi finished the 4 hours of lesson 2 for today. The reason why he didn't tell Su Xiangmi about the 1,000,000 was because based on his understanding of Su Xiangmi, if Su Xiangmi knew about it, she would definitely return the 1,000,000 to him in the future. But he didn't want Su Xiangmi to do that. First of all, Su Xiangmi was very good to him. She often gave him free tutoring on weekends in the past 2 years. It was only natural for him to repay Su Xiangmi now. Secondly, 1,000,000 is insignificant to him now, but Su Xiangmi may have to live frugally for 6 or 7 years to save that much money. In short, he treated Su Xiangmi as his sister and didn't want her to move away, nor did he want her to suffer. After leaving the driving school, Lu Qi rode his bike to the antique street and found the Yupingxuan mentioned in the business opportunity. This is a luxuriously decorated jewelry store, with all kinds of gold, jade and jadeite displayed in the cabinets. Lu Qi took a look around and found that high-quality jade was very expensive. A bracelet could cost hundreds of thousands or even millions of yuan. Handsome guy, what do you want to buy? The uniformed clerk greeted Lucci with a smile. I want to gamble on stones. Can I do that here? Lucci asked. The so-called gambling on jadeite is actually buying jadeite raw stones. When jade is mined, it is covered with a layer of weathered skin on the outside, making it impossible to know the quality inside. The quality of the jade can only be clearly seen after it is cut. Due to this characteristic of jade, buying jade raw stone is also called gambling on stone. When the clerk heard that Lucci wanted to gamble on stones, he was a little surprised, because Lucci looked very young and was dressed in ordinary clothes. Handsome guy, we can gamble on stones here, but the raw stones in our store are all imported from old mines in Myanmar, and the prices are basically more than tens of thousands of yuan. The clerk didn't think that a young man like Lucci would buy such an expensive rough stone. They are all good stuff. Take me to see them. Lucci showed great interest. Okay, please follow me. The clerk was not sure whether she had made a mistake. Adhering to the principle of customer first, she took Lucci to the basement floor. The decoration of the underground floor is completely different from that of the first floor. It is filled with stones of different sizes, each of which is marked with a serial number and price. These stones are jadeite raw stones. At this time, some customers were studying the raw stones with tools such as strong flashlights and magnifying glasses. Lucci had limited knowledge about gambling on stones, and he just wanted to find the rough stone mentioned in the business opportunity information as soon as possible. But after walking around, he found several rough stones priced at $200,000. Which rough stones are the latest arrivals? Lucci asked the clerk. According to the business opportunity information, the raw stone that can be cut into high-priced jadeite was just launched by Upingsuan today. This batch of goods just arrived today. The clerk pointed to a piece of raw stone in one area and told Lucci. Lucci then set his sights on that area. In that area, there were 3 pieces of raw stones priced at $200,000. Are you sure all the rough stones released today are here? Lucci asked the clerk again. After all, this is a business involving more than 100 million yuan, and there is no room for any carelessness. Yes, handsome, it's all here. The clerk nodded affirmatively. Will you have any new rough stones arriving today? No, we usually only get one batch of goods a month. Although he didn't understand why Lucci asked these questions, the clerk still answered patiently. At this point, Lucci was completely certain that the rough stone mentioned in the business opportunity was one of the 3 pieces in front of him. In order to avoid any complications and avoid being beaten to the punch by others, Lucci pretended to observe for half a minute and then said, I'll buy the rough stones number 63, 64, and 65. The clerk was stunned when he heard this, and subconsciously asked, Handsome guy, are you sure? Lucci nodded. Of course, I'm not here to cause trouble. The clerk was immediately overjoyed and was glad that he did not judge people by their appearance, otherwise he would have lost the commission. Lucci's action attracted the attention of other customers. I've never seen this guy before. This must be his first time gambling on stones. Buying 3 rough stones at once, young people are very adventurous. With his gambling style, his family will go bankrupt sooner or later. Everyone thought Lucci was a young man with a strong gambling habit. Wait. Just as Lucci was about to confirm the transaction with the clerk, an old man came over and interrupted them. The old man was wearing a Zhongshan suit, and he exuded an aura of majesty without even getting angry. Lucci's heart tightened. Could it be that this old man also saw that the 3 rough stones were not ordinary and came to compete with him for the rough stones? Mr. Gu, what can I do for you? The clerk was very respectful to the old man, and it was obvious that the old man was not an ordinary person. The old man looked at Lucci and said, Young man, gambling on stones is very risky. One cut can make you rich or poor. Do your family members know that you spent so much money on gambling on stones? After hearing what the old man said, Lucci felt relieved. It turned out that the old man came to remind him not to compete for the rough stone. Thank you for your kindness, old man, but my family will not object to me. Even if I lose all the 600,000 yuan, it will not affect my family's life. Lucci said with a smile. Yeah. The old man looked at Lucci for a few seconds with a scrutinizing gaze. Seeing that Lucci had a sunny face, completely different from ordinary gamblers, he said, In that case, I won't bother you anymore. After saying that, the old man turned around and continued to observe the raw stone. Who is this old gentleman? Looking at the old man's back, Lucci asked the clerk. Mr. Gu is a big customer of our store. I am not in a position to reveal his specific identity. I can only say that even if he buys all the rough stones here, it is just a small amount of money for Mr. Gu. When mentioning Mr. Gu's identity, the clerk's eyes were filled with respect. Lucci was secretly shocked. If he wanted to buy all the raw stones here, it would cost at least tens of millions. Tens of millions are just small amounts of money? It seems that this old man is a well-known figure in the entire city. A person of such a distinguished status even came to remind him of the risks of gambling on stones, which shows his noble character. After spending 600,000 yuan to buy 3 pieces of raw stones, Lucci finally felt at ease, no longer having to worry about others snatching them from him. At this time, the cutting master was cutting a piece of raw stone for a tall and thin middle-aged man. This rough stone was bought by a tall and thin middle-aged man for 500,000. Other customers were watching from the sidelines. Bean seeds. It's broken. The quality is too poor. I can't even make back 10,000 yuan. As the raw stone was cut, the onlooker sighed, and the tall and thin middle-aged man's face turned pale. The raw stone is worth as much as 500,000, but the jade cut from it is worth less than 10,000. This shows how risky gambling on stones is. Just now the old man reminded Lucci that a single knife can make one rich or poor, which makes sense. Under normal circumstances, Lucci would naturally not participate in gambling on stones, but now, he has to do it. Master, help me cut these 3 pieces of raw stones. Lucci said to the cutting master. Okay. So, the cutting master began to cut raw stones number 63, number 64, and number 65. This young man is really fearless. Har har, young people don't know the dangers of gambling on stones, and they want to get rich overnight. Reality will teach them a lesson. No one present was optimistic about Lucci. It's not everyone's fault for having poor vision, but there are too many people who have lost their fortunes due to impulse in the gambling stone field. After a while, raw stones number 63 and number 64 were cut one after another. But the cut jade is of average quality and can be sold for a maximum of tens of thousands of yuan. Young man, I advise you not to cut the last piece. If you sell it to someone else now, you can still sell it for hundreds of thousands. Yeah, stop it, stop gambling on stones, and go back to study hard. Several kind-hearted people persuaded Lucci. Thank you for your kindness, but since we've already lost so much, there's no need to keep the last piece. Lucci smiled and thanked those people for their kindness. So the cutting master helped Lucci cut rough stone number 65, which was the last rough stone. At this moment, Lucci was also a little nervous, fearing that the rough stone mentioned by the system had been bought by someone else earlier. As a cut was made in the raw stone, a striking green color emerged. It is a lush green, a green so green that it seems to be dripping with juice. And it is crystal clear and flawless. Imperial green. Oh my god, it's actually glass-type imperial green. The onlookers all exclaimed. Glass-type imperial green is the jade with the best quality and the highest price, and it is priceless. Handsome guy, stop cutting it. I'll give you 5 million. Sell it to me. An obese middle-aged man stepped forward and said. Although a cut has been made in the raw stone, revealing a small piece of imperial green, you can still gamble, because the remaining piece may not be imperial green. Fatty he, you are too insincere. You want to buy the imperial green for 5 million. A young woman in a low-cut dress laughed at the obese middle-aged man, then said to Lucci with a bright smile, Handsome boy, I am Zhu Fang, the general manager of Tsidian Jewelry. I am willing to pay 8 million to buy your rough stone. Although the low-cut young woman's attitude was good, how could Lucci sell the rough stone at this time? He said, Sorry, I want to cut the rough stone into pieces and not sell it for the time being. The young woman in low-cut clothes raised the price by another 2 million, but was still rejected by Lucci. Human greed is like a snake swallowing an elephant. Young man, you have already made a lot of money, so don't be too greedy. If you don't get anything out of the next cut, it will probably only be worth 2 or 3 million. Yeah, young man, it's best to get the money first. There's no need to gamble anymore. Some people were trying to persuade Lucci. But Lucci remained unmoved and continued to let the cutting master do it. As the entire piece of raw stone was cut, the whole place fell silent. Everyone looked at the huge piece of endless imperial green jadeite in shock. Oh my god, such a big piece of imperial green jadeite. I have been gambling on jade for 10 years, and this is the first time I have seen such a pure and large piece of imperial green. This should be the most precious piece of jadeite in the history of our Nancha gambling stone industry. After the shock, everyone exclaimed. Lu Chi was finally able to put his worries to rest. The business opportunities provided by the system are really accurate. Handsome guy, our boss is willing to pay 40 million for this piece of jade from you. The obese middle-aged man just now made a phone call and then said to Lu Chi. Fatty he, you are so mean. You only gave me 40 million for such a large piece of glass-type imperial green. The young woman in low-cut clothes glanced at the fat middle-aged man with disdain, then said to Lu Chi with a charming smile, handsome boy, I am willing to pay 60 million. Humph. Widow Jew, my 40 million is not generous, but your 60 million is generous. At least it's more sincere than your 40 million. Before Lu Chi could even open his mouth, the obese middle-aged man and the young woman in low-cut clothes started arguing. In fact, both of them knew that the real value of this jadeite was definitely over 100 million. It was just that their company didn't have that much money to buy it. You two stop arguing. Just as the two were arguing, an old man came out. Seeing the old man, the obese middle-aged man and the young woman in low-cut clothes immediately stopped arguing and greeted the old man respectfully. Hello, Mr. Gu. The old man nodded, then walked to the jade and squatted down to observe it. It is indeed a complete glass-type imperial green, which is hard to come by. The old man observed and nodded with satisfaction, then stood up and said to Lu Chi, young man, the market price of your jadeite should be around 150 million. I will buy it from you at this price. How about it? Hearing this sky-high price, everyone at the scene was shocked again. Lu Chi was also surprised at the old man's vision, because the price of 150 million was exactly the same as what the system said. In fact, when it comes to jadeite of this level, there are very few people who really understand the business, so even if the old man only gives 70 or 80 million, others will not think it is too little. However, the old man did not deliberately conceal the true value of the jade, nor did he deliberately lower the price, which made Lu Chi admire him. Doing business with such people is undoubtedly the most reassuring. So Lu Chi nodded and said, Mr. Gu, I am willing to sell it to you. Har har, okay. Next, Mr. Gu called the finance department and the lawyer, and the three of them, along with Lu Chi, took the jadeite to the bank to trade. Seeing Lu Chi getting into Gu Lao's car, the people who were gambling on stones were full of envy. From now on, our Nan City has one more billionaire. In the bank, Lu Chi received a transfer of 150 million. Xiaolu, you will have to file your own tax return later. The transaction was completed, and Mr. Gu kindly reminded Lu Chi. Well, thank you, Mr. Gu. Lu Chi felt that it was his luck to meet such a respected person as Mr. Gu. Here's my business card. We can have tea together sometime. Before leaving, Mr. Gu handed Lu Chi a simple business card. Lu Chi sent Mr. Gu to the car. The Rolls-Royce Phantom slowly drove away. Gu Renghua in the car had a flash of admiration in his eyes. This guy is interesting. In fact, Gu Renghua had started paying attention to Lu Chi as early as when he was cutting the raw stone. He found that the young man had a very good mentality, and he did not show any excessive excitement even when he offered to spend 150 million to buy it. This mentality is second to none among the young people he has ever met. Chapter 4. It was him. On their way home from the bank, Lu Chi called Su Xiangmi and planned to invite her to have a big meal together. Having earned over 100 million today, he wanted to find someone to celebrate with. But he learned on the phone that Su Xiangmi had already returned to her hometown, so he could only celebrate by himself. While Lu Chi was having dinner alone, Su Xiangmi was also having dinner with her family in her hometown. Su Xiangmi returned to Ming City more than an hour ago, but the hospital's hospitalization window had closed, so she had to wait until tomorrow to apply to view the recharge details of her hospitalization account. Sister, if this million was transferred in by your suitors, what are you going to do with it? A girl sitting next to Su Xiangmi asked. The girl had a ponytail, big bright and clear eyes, a fair oval face that was pure and lovely, and her eyebrows were somewhat similar to Su Xiangmi. She is Su Xiangmi's younger sister, named Su Luzi. Of course we have to take it out and return it to the owner. Su Xiangmi said as a matter of course. But after we return it, what will we do with Dad's future medical expenses? Su Luzi said, since they gave it to us voluntarily, we should just accept it as a gift. there is no need to return it. Perhaps 1 million is just like a few dozen dollars to that person. Sushami shook her head and said, Lucai, your idea is very dangerous. People should have backbone. No matter how rich that person is, the money belongs to him, not us. Suluzi pouted and said, Sister, why don't you just marry him? Sushami was both angry and amused. Are you planning to let my sister sell herself? Suluzi explained, Sister, that's not what I meant. What I meant was, if that person is not someone you dislike, and even happens to be someone you like, and since he treats you so well, you will be happy if you marry him. It's not that simple. Sushami smiled bitterly and shook her head. Sister, if the 1 million is eventually returned, I won't go to college. I will go out to work with you and share the pressure with you. Suluzi said seriously. Sushami felt a little warm in her heart after hearing this. She took her sister's hand and said, Don't worry, I'm a graduate of a prestigious university after all. I won't be overwhelmed by the hundreds of thousands of medical expenses. Suluzi had just finished the college entrance examination. She usually had excellent grades and would definitely be admitted to a good school if nothing unexpected happened. How could Su Xiangmi allow her not to go to college? The next morning, Su Xiangmi arrived at the hospital's hospitalization payment window on time. Half an hour later, she got the recharge details of her father's hospital account. The details showed that 1 million was transferred in at 10 o'clock yesterday morning, and the transferor was Lu Qi. How is that possible? Su Xiangmi was shocked when she saw Lu Qi's name. Among the people she knew, there was only one person named Lu Qi. She never expected that the 1 million was transferred in by Lu Qi. What a fool! Su Xiangmi was both heartwarming and anxious. She was well aware of Lu Qi's family conditions. In her opinion, this 1 million was probably the result of Lu Qi transferring all the family savings without telling his parents. Sister, is this Lu Qi your suitor? Su Luzi on the side asked curiously. No. Su Xiangmi shook her head. What is his relationship to you? Su Luzi was surprised. Su Xiangmi didn't have the mood to answer for the time being. She called Lu Qi immediately. At this time, Lu Qi was studying for the last 2 hours of driving test in the driving school. Hey, Sister Xiangmi. Xiao Qi, why are you so stupid? What's wrong with me? Listening to Su Xiangmi's gentle reproach, Lu Qi did not realize for a moment that Su Xiangmi had already known about the 1 million. What's wrong? If your parents knew about that 1 million, they would probably kick you out of the house. Su Xiangmi said anxiously, I will apply to the hospital right now to get the money out and transfer it back before your parents find out. Now Lu Qi understood what was going on. He smiled and said, Sister Xiangmi, don't worry. The 1 million is not my parents'. It's mine. It's already this time, and you still want to lie to your sister. Su Xiangmi naturally wouldn't believe such words. After all, how could a student from an ordinary family who just graduated from high school have 1 million yuan? At this point, Lu Qi knew that if he didn't reveal that he was rich, Su Xiangmi might really take out the 1 million and return it to him, so he said, Sister Xiangmi, I really didn't lie to you. A few days ago, there was a lucky person in Nansha who won a lottery of 50 million. Have you heard about it? That lucky person is me. Su Xiangmi was shocked when she heard this. Although she had not noticed the relevant news, she could easily find out the truth once she looked into it. There was no reason for Lu Qi to lie like that. This means that her neighbor's brother is now a bona fide multimillionaire. After being shocked, Su Xiangmi was sincerely happy for Lu Qi. She smiled and said, Then I congratulate you here. Since you are so rich, I won't take out the 1 million for now. Just think of it as a loan to you and pay it back slowly in the future, okay? Of course you can, but actually, it doesn't matter whether you pay it back or not. Lu Qi said. Su Xiangmi was both touched and relieved. It was worth it that she had treated Lu Qi as her own brother for the past 2 years. He actually donated 1 million yuan to their family without saying a word. He was really good to her. If someone is a little more selfish and stingy, no matter how rich he is, he cannot do this. That's impossible. Who do you think my sister is? Su Xiangmi said angrily. Oh well. The development of the matter was exactly as Lu Qi had predicted. Su Xiangmi really would not accept his gift and insisted on returning the money to him. Xiao Qi, I really thank you for this time. I will reward you well when I return to Nansha. Su Xiangmi said softly. Reward? Hearing this, Lu Qi became alert. Although he doesn't want Sister Xiangmi to have any psychological burden, it's not impossible if she really wants to reward him. As for the way to reward him, would it be a bit shy? His young heart was a little restless. In the leopard driving school, Lu Qi ended the call with Su Xiangmi and continued to brush up on the study hours for the second subject. Handsome guy, what kind of car do you want to buy when you get your driver's license? The young woman in black stockings who was in the same car tried to find a topic to chat with Lu Qi. Lu Qi has now completely mastered the content of subject 2, and is even as skilled as an experienced driver, so he can do two things at once. He said, I plan to buy a supercar. Supercar. The young woman in black stockings was very surprised, because Lu Qi's dress did not look like that of a rich second generation, and the cheapest supercar cost several million. Handsome guy, do you have a super rich sister behind you? As she spoke, the young woman in black stockings looked at Lu Qi's handsome face, as if she suspected that Lu Qi was being kept by a rich woman. Sister, you have a really big imagination. Lu Qi smiled and shook his head, without further explanation, and continued to focus on driving practice. After completing 16 hours of study, Lu Qi made an appointment online for the second subject test. In the afternoon, Lu Qi called his parents who were on a business trip. Both his parents are employees of public institutions, so normally speaking, his family's conditions are pretty good. But 5 years ago, my grandmother in my hometown was diagnosed with cancer. In order to treat my grandmother, my parents spent all their savings, sold their car, and mortgaged their house to borrow more than 100,000 yuan from the bank. From immunotherapy, to proton therapy, to chemotherapy, and then to surgical resection, for a full 3 years, my parents did their best and went to the hospital countless times. Even when the doctors said there was no way, they never gave up on grandma. Although grandma passed away 2 years ago, Lu Qi was deeply influenced by his parents' filial piety. Lu Qi once swore in his heart that when he became capable, he would also be filial to his parents. Now, he plans to prepare some surprises for his parents. Dad, if I give you 10 million, what car would you like to buy? Lu Qi asked this while chatting with his father. Har har, why are you suddenly talking about this with Dad? On the other end of the phone, Lu Qinyu smiled and said, the Chrysanthemum factory recently launched a 7-seater extended range car, the Wenjie M7. If I really have that much money, Dad would like to buy it. Lu Qi knew that his father was a loyal fan of Juchang, so he was not surprised by his father's choice. After chatting for 10 minutes, he was basically certain that his father's dream car was the Wenjie M7 produced by the Ju factory. Then she chatted with her mother again. Compared to my father, my mother doesn't pay much attention to the automotive industry. What she is most concerned about now is Lu Qi's college entrance examination results. Mom, don't worry, there will be no problem getting into Nanjing University. Lu Qi said with a smile. Well, that's good. Seeing her son so confident, Liang Yuting felt relieved and said, I have to thank you, Sister Xiangmi. Without her, your grades wouldn't have improved so quickly. Har har, of course. After chatting for a while and confirming that his parents would be back in a week, Lu Qi began to prepare a surprise for them. Chapter 5 The goddess next door taught me how to swim. In order to prepare a surprise for his parents, Lu Qi ran around for the entire afternoon. When I was going home in the evening, I happened to meet Su Xiangmi in the elevator. Sister Xiangmi, how is uncle's condition? It's still relatively stable, but it will take a long time to cure. Why don't you stay in your hometown for a few more days? I have to go to work tomorrow. Su Xiangmi looked at Lu Qi softly and said, if you don't work hard, when will I be able to return the 1 million to you? Lu Qi smiled and shook his head, Sister Xiangmi, there's really no rush to pay back the money. Okay, let's not talk about this for now. Su Xiangmi smiled slightly. Su Xiangmi's facial features were extremely delicate, and at close range they looked as perfect as a work of art. As she smiled, Lu Qi experienced firsthand what it meant to be able to captivate the whole city with one smile. The two walked out of the elevator and entered Lu Qi's house. Sister Xiangmi, why don't we just stop cooking and go eat at the restaurant? Why, the food my sister cooks isn't as delicious as the one in the restaurant. Of course not, it's just that you just came from your hometown and I don't want you to be tired. Don't worry, sister is not tired. Originally, Lu Qi planned to invite Su Xiangmi out for a big meal, but Su Xiangmi insisted on cooking dinner for him. Since Su Xiangmi had no ingredients at home, she used the ingredients from Lu Qi's house to make it. An hour later, Su Xiangmi had prepared several simple home-cooked dishes. Today's ingredients are limited, I'll make a big meal to reward you tomorrow. At the dining table, Su Xiangmi smiled and said to Lu Qi, you have helped me so much. In addition to a big meal, how else do you want me to reward you? Looking at Su Xiangmi's delicate pink lips and proud and tall breasts, some special ways of rewarding her flashed through Lu Qi's mind. Of course, he would not say those thoughts out loud, so he asked, Sister Xiangmi, can you swim? Yes. Su Xiangmi had learned swimming in physical education class at university. Why, you want to learn swimming? Yes, can you teach me? Of course, no problem. Su Xiangmi readily agreed. Lu Qi had already planned to learn swimming in the afternoon. Because the second subject exam will not start until 2 days later. Before this, he could not obtain system rewards by practicing driving and could only learn other things. So he planned to practice swimming in the next 2 days. Sister Xiangmi, shall we go tonight? Are you in such a hurry? But it's okay. Lu Qi was very happy to invite Su Xiangmi to be his swimming coach. After dinner, he and Su Xiangmi took a taxi to the swimming pool. 10 minutes later, they arrived at the swimming pool of a 5-star hotel in Nansha. The water quality in the swimming pools in this kind of place is relatively hygienic and there are relatively few people. Although the price is as high as 200 yuan an hour, Lu Qi can definitely afford it with his current wealth. Lu Qi quickly changed into his swimming trunks and sat on the lounge chair waiting for Su Xiangmi to come out. He was looking forward to seeing how sexy Su Xiangmi would look in a swimsuit with her figure. Lu Qi. Just as Lu Qi was fantasizing, a voice suddenly interrupted him. When I looked up, I saw a man and a woman standing in front of me. Lu Qi knew this man and woman. They were both his classmates. The man was called Yi Duan and the woman was called Xielina. Lu Qi once had a conflict with Yi Duan on the court, and the two had a bad relationship. Lu Qi, what are you doing here? Yi Duan narrowed his eyes and stared at Lu Qi. So what are you doing here? Lu Qi asked back calmly. We often come here to swim. And considering your family's conditions, this shouldn't be the place you come to, right? Yi Duan's eyes were condescending and full of contempt. Is this hotel yours? Are you the only ones allowed to come here? Lu Qi was not polite when speaking to this arrogant rich second generation. Ha, I think you're following Lena. Yi Duan hugged Xielina's waist tightly and said jokingly, Lu Qi, a beauty like Lena is a woman you will never get. You can only be a stalker. Xielina is good looking and many boys in the class have a crush on her. When Lu Qi was in the first year of high school, he once gave Xielina a hazy poem. That is. At this time, Xielina leaned on Yi Duan and said in coordination with Yi Duan, Lu Qi, I am already Duan's girlfriend, please don't harass me again in the future. Seeing these two people, one arrogant and the other narcissistic, Lu Qi laughed instead of getting angry. He admitted that he once had feelings for Xielina, but that was only in the past. Xielina now has the same bad taste as Yi Duan, and he just feels disgusted. Xiao Qi, what are you still doing sitting there? Come here. Suddenly, a soft and moving voice was heard. Their voice was so pleasant that even Yi Duan and Xielina couldn't help but look back. Not far away, there stood a woman in a one-piece swimsuit. The nearly perfect sexy figure, angelic face, and skin as white as mutton fat attracted almost everyone's attention. What a nice view. No matter men or women, they will be amazed the moment they see this woman. Lu Qi also stared with his eyes wide open. Su Xiangmi in a swimsuit was indeed sexy. Although it is just a one-piece swimsuit and not a bikini, it still makes people unable to take their eyes off it. Come on, I'll teach you how to swim. When Lu Qi walked up to her, Su Xiangmi naturally took Lu Qi's hand. So soft and smooth. Just holding hands made Lu Qi's heart beat faster. But he knew that Su Xiangmi did this to save his face. What's the relationship between that kid Lu Qi and that beautiful lady? Seeing Lu Qi and Su Xiangmi leaving hand in hand intimately, Yi Duan looked grim. Whether in terms of appearance, figure, or temperament, his girlfriend Xielina is far inferior to Su Xiangmi. Compared with Su Xiangmi, Xielina is a level lower. Just now he laughed at Lu Qi for never being able to get a beauty like Xielina, but now Lu Qi is holding hands with someone who is 100 times more beautiful than Xielina. That should be his relative, not his girlfriend. Yi Duan could only comfort himself in this way. Lu Qi quickly put Yi Duan and Xielina behind him, and began to learn swimming under the guidance of Su Xiangmi. First, let's practice holding our breath and exhaling. Su Xiangmi held Lu Qi's shoulders with both hands. Relax your body, you are wearing swimming goggles, you can open your eyes underwater. Lu Qi slowly squatted down and submerged his entire head in the water. So white. In the water, he only felt a white patch in front of his eyes, which was Sister Xiangmi's two plump and white thighs. After being refracted by the water light, Sister Xiangmi's skin becomes whiter like milk. Because there was beautiful scenery to admire underwater, Lu Qi was able to hold his breath for a considerable amount of time. After a few minutes of breath holding and exhalation practice, Su Xiangmi began to teach Lu Qi the prone drift practice. Floating is an important foundation for learning to swim. There are two types of floating, prone floating and prone floating. The first thing you need to learn is prone floating, which is floating with your face down and your back up. Su Xiangmi explained at the side while holding up Lu Qi's body with both hands to help him float. During this process, physical contact between the two people is inevitable. Lu Qi would occasionally feel Su Xiangmi's amazing softness. It's so big. Lu Qi was distracted and had difficulty concentrating on his practice. He had experienced this kind of intimate contact with the goddess next door several times in his dreams. Xiao Qi, you have to concentrate and not be distracted. Seeing that Lu Qi's body was still stiff and unable to float up, Su Xiangmi realized that she might have distracted this young and energetic guy. Okay. Lu Qi suppressed all thoughts and focused on swimming itself. After learning the prone drift, Su Xiangmi then taught Lu Qi the breakdown of the movements. What a nice view! Watching Su Xiangmi's standard breaststroke in the water, Lu Qi secretly exclaimed, "This is truly a peerless mermaid." Chapter 6: Buying stocks and making big profits. Breaststroke is the easiest swimming style to learn, so Su Xiangmi first taught Lu Qi to practice breaststroke. For swimming beginners, it usually takes at least 3 to 5 days to learn breaststroke. At this moment, Lu Qi was working hard to practice the decomposition movements. Apart from the distraction caused by physical contact with Su Xiangmi just now, Lu Qi practiced very seriously afterwards. First, he wanted to perform well in front of Su Xiangmi and live up to her guidance. Second, as long as you learn the breaststroke, you should be able to get rewards from the system. Keep your knees close together as you draw your feet toward your hips. Su Xiangmi was always paying attention to Lu Qi and correcting his posture in time. The other men in the swimming pool were envious and jealous of Lu Qi for being able to have such a gentle and beautiful woman teach him how to swim. "Beauty, I'm the general manager of Nanboxing Technology. Can I meet you?" "Excuse me, I have a boyfriend." Because Su Xiangmi was so dazzling, like a full moon in the dark night, several young men approached her and started a conversation with her. Su Xiangmi rejected all the approaches, saying that she had a boyfriend. When she mentioned her boyfriend, she pointed at Lu Qi who was practicing in the water. "What? That beautiful lady is actually his girlfriend." Not far away, Yi Duan's eyes were about to spit fire with jealousy. Just now he thought that Lu Qi and Su Xiangmi should be relatives, not lovers. But now, Su Xiangmi admitted it herself. This means that Lu Qi, whom he has always looked down upon, has found a stunning girlfriend who is 100 times more beautiful than Xialina. How come this loser is so lucky? Jealousy made Yi Duan's face distorted. He didn't want to stay in this place anymore and left the swimming pool angrily. Did that woman get kicked in the head by a donkey? What's so good about Lu Qi that she's his girlfriend? Xialina was jealous of Su Xiangmi's beauty and hated her. Because of Su Xiangmi's appearance, Yi Duan's interest in her decreased significantly. Yi Duan had promised to buy her a brand name bag tomorrow, but now it seems that it's impossible. Lu Qi, who was practicing in the water, also heard Su Xiangmi calling him her boyfriend. However, he knew that this was just an excuse Su Xiangmi made up to get rid of those people who came to chat her up, so he didn't take it to heart. After more than 40 minutes of practice, Lu Qi made significant progress and could already swim 7 or 8 meters in the water. "Xiao Qi, take a rest." When Lu Qi returned to the swimming pool, Su Xiangmi considerately brought him a drink to replenish his water and wiped the water droplets off his face with a towel. "Thank you, Sister Xiangmi." Lu Qi accepted Su Xiangmi's attentive service with great enjoyment. With such a gentle, considerate and stunningly beautiful coach, Lu Qi was full of motivation. After another half an hour of practice, he completely mastered the breaststroke and could swim back and forth in the pool at one time. "Xiao Qi, you're awesome. It took me a month of physical education classes to learn this." Su Xiangmi praised Lu Qi with a smile. "Har har, that's because I have a good coach." Lu Qi was in a good mood, and his eyes unconsciously fell on Su Xiangmi's thighs as white as milk. What a pair of perfect legs. Ding, congratulations to their host for learning breaststroke, a little red flower as a reward. Just as Lu Qi predicted, when he learned breaststroke, the system rewarded him. Exchange for the lottery. Ding, the lottery is in progress. Congratulations to their host for winning a business opportunity. Do you want to check it now? Check. Business opportunity content. Longmo Technology, a leading domestic EDA company, will see its stock price rise by the daily limit for the next 3 days. After reading the content of the business opportunity, Lu Qi smiled. This would make him a lot of money again. Su Xiangmi naturally didn't know that Lu Qi was secretly communicating with the system. She only saw Lu Qi staring at her thighs, grinning foolishly, and drooling. This little scoundrel. Being stared at by Lu Qi like this, Su Xiangmi felt a little embarrassed and unconsciously squeezed her legs together. But she was not angry, because she was aware of her own charm, and her brother was still a young and energetic guy after all. Xiao Qi, have you seen enough? Seeing that Lu Qi had been staring at her for half a minute without looking away, Su Xiangmi pretended to be angry. Lu Qi came back to his senses and realized that he had been staring at Su Xiangmi's beautiful legs. He couldn't explain it at all. He couldn't say that he was actually communicating with the system just now. However, he found that Su Xiangmi was just pretending to be angry, so he changed the subject and said, Sister Xiangmi, I will stop practicing here tonight. Let's go back. Su Xiangmi rolled her eyes at Lu Qi, then nodded and said, well, it's getting late. After changing their clothes, they took a taxi home. Sister, I want to learn freestyle swimming tomorrow. Can you continue to be my coach? On the way, Lu Qi said to Su Xiangmi. He loved the time when Su Xiangmi taught him how to swim. He could learn something and appreciate the beauty at the same time. But after get off work tomorrow, I have to look for a house. Su Xiangmi said with some embarrassment. Looking for a house? What kind of house? Of course I need to find a place to live. I want to move to a cheaper house. Hearing this, Lu Qi became anxious and said, hasn't uncle's medical expenses been settled? You don't have to move out. Seeing Lu Qi's anxious look, Su Xiangmi felt a little warm in her heart. She said softly, but sister has to pay you back. Sister Xiangmi, I won't move for you. Lu Qi subconsciously grabbed Su Xiangmi's hand and said domineeringly, didn't you say you wanted to reward me? Then my condition is that you are not allowed to move out and you have to continue to be my neighbor. As for the repayment, we will find another way. The rent of more than 2,000 yuan is just a drop in the bucket compared to 1 million. It won't work just to save money, we have to think about how to make more money. Su Xiangmi's heart trembled when she heard Lu Qi's slightly overbearing words. She could only give in and said, okay, but if the company doesn't give me a raise in a month, and I don't find a job with a higher monthly salary, then I still have to move out. Lu Qi hesitated for a moment, then smiled and said, okay, it's settled. Lu Qi is confident that he can provide Su Xiangmi with a good job in a month. Although he only has money and no property now, with the system, the situation will be completely different in a month. Xiao Qi, when do you want to catch him? A few minutes later, Su Xiangmi suddenly reminded Lu Qi. It turned out that Lu Qi was still holding Su Xiangmi's hand. Oh! Lu Qi quickly let go. Su Xiangmi's hands were so soft and smooth that he was so addicted to holding them that he forgot to let go. Sister, just now in the swimming pool, didn't you say I was your boyfriend? What's wrong with holding hands? Lu Qi joked. Su Xiangmi gave Lu Qi a glare and said, do you want to do something else? Looking at Su Xiangmi's delicate and charming lips, Lu Qi secretly swallowed his saliva, touched his nose and said, sister, I'm just kidding. You are still young, don't let your imagination run wild, understand? Oh. Lu Qi nodded on the surface, but in his heart he said, Sister Xiangmi, I am really not a child anymore, you will know when you see me. You can hold my hand as you like, but don't let your imagination run wild. As she spoke, Su Xiangmi took the initiative to hold Lu Qi's hand. Lu Qi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Sister Xiangmi, which man can remain calm when touching the skin of a beauty like you? During the rest of the journey, Su Xiangmi held Lu Qi's hand the whole time. In the dim back compartment, Lu Qi smelled the delicate body fragrance emanating from Su Xiangmi and felt her warm and smooth hands, his heart beating faster and faster. Su Xiangmi appears to be elegant, quiet and graceful on the surface, but in fact, she is a little uneasy inside. The next day, Su Xiangmi went to work, and Lu Qi went to a securities company. He had opened a stock account before, but some permissions had not been activated. After getting the permissions, Lu Qi immediately transferred more than 100 million into the account. He took a look at Longmo Technology's stock and found that it had not risen yet, so he began to buy it gradually. With the influx of more than 100 million yuan of funds, Longmo Technology rose by 3 points and then basically fluctuated at this price. However, at the close of the afternoon trading, a large amount of funds suddenly poured in, and Longmo Technology hit its daily limit. Since Longmo Technology is a GEM stock, the daily limit reached 20 percentage points. The funds on Lu Qi's account increased by more than 20 million. Chapter 7 Waiting to see a joke. A net profit of more than 20 million a day, this speed of making money was something Lu Qi couldn't even imagine in the past. Son, have you checked your grades? How many points did you get? Suddenly Lu Qi received a message from his mother Liang Yuting. It turned out that today was the day when the college entrance examination results were announced. Lu Qi was so busy trading stocks that he forgot about this matter. Lu Qi then logged into the Admissions Examination Institute to check his scores. Name, Lu Qi. Chinese, 120. Mathematics, 115. English, 118. Comprehensive Science, 220. Total score, 573. This score exceeds the first tier line by more than 60 points. Har har, you are such a good son. Just tell me what kind of reward you want. Liang Yuting was delighted. When he was in the first year of high school, Lu Qi's grades were at the bottom of the class, and Liang Yuting was very worried. But in the next 2 years, Lu Qi received encouragement and guidance from Su Xiangmi, and his grades improved steadily. Now he has scored 573 points in the college entrance examination. Reward? I'll tell you when I think about it. Lu Qi is now worth over 100 million yuan, so he naturally doesn't need any material rewards from his parents, but perhaps he can take this opportunity to discuss something with his parents. Okay. Mom and Dad are not at home right now, so they can't celebrate with you. Just celebrate with your sister Xiangmi tonight. After that, Liang Yuting transferred 500 yuan to Lu Qi. Okay, Mom. Lu Qi accepted the transfer from his mother with a smile. He has not yet told his parents that he has earned 200 million yuan because he plans to give them a surprise when they come back. Xiao Qi, it seems that you can check your college entrance examination results today. Have you checked? Lu Qi had just finished talking to his mother when he received a voice message from Su Xiangmi. This sister really cares about him. I checked, with 573 points, I should be able to apply for the best Nanjing University in our city. Sister Xiangmi, my mom just transferred money to me and asked me to celebrate with you tonight and thank you very much. Upon learning that Lu Qi had gotten a good score, Su Xiangmi was sincerely happy for Lu Qi. I'm sorry, Xiao Qi, our department has an urgent project and we have to work overtime tonight. I'm afraid I can't celebrate with you. Su Xiangmi said regretfully. Why does your company always require overtime? Sister Xiangmi, why don't you just not work overtime tonight? It's better not to have this job. Originally, Lu Qi had planned to have a big dinner with Su Xiangmi tonight and then go swimming, but now all the plans have failed, so he was a little impatient when he spoke. How can I not work? Will you support me? That's absolutely no problem. Sister Xiangmi, I'll support you. Seeing Lu Qi's straightforward answer, Su Xiangmi on the other end of the phone smiled softly. Silly boy, even though you won tens of millions of dollars in the lottery, if you don't work, you will end up living a life of idleness. When you go to college, you can't be lax and unlearned just because you have money, understand? Sister Xiangmi, believe me, no matter how much you eat, you can't eat all of mine. At this moment, Lu Qi wanted to tell Su Xiangmi that he not only won tens of millions, but also earned more than 100 million. It was impossible to live off his savings. But in the end he didn't say it, because he planned to wait until he had his own business before letting Su Xiangmi see his strength. Okay, I believe you have the ability. But I have to go to work, so I won't chat with you anymore. Su Xiangmi ended the conversation with a smile. Lu Qi was a little depressed, and out of boredom he clicked into the class group. Since the college entrance examination, the class group has been very lively every day. Those students from wealthy families share their travels and fun activities in the group every day, and the class group has become a platform for them to show off. Today, on the day when the results are announced, it is the turn of those students with good grades to show their talents in the group. At this time, the group was discussing where to go for a group party to celebrate. Class monitor Liang Yi, in order to celebrate everyone's ideal test scores, I suggest that we go to the Carlton Resort Hotel at the seaside for 2 days the day after tomorrow. Cielina, the monitor's suggestion is good, let us go together. Yi Duan, I agree. Those students from well-off families expressed their agreement. But this makes it difficult for students from poor families. Because Carlton Resort Hotel is expensive, even if you go in a group, it will cost at least 2,000 to 3,000 yuan for 2 days. Yi Duan also specifically at Lu Qi, are you going? Lu Qi didn't want to say anything, but since he was called, he replied, I won't go, I still have to practice driving. Har, can't you spare 2 or 3 days to practice driving? If you have financial difficulties, you can tell me and I will help you with the money. On the surface, it seems that Yi Duan is helping out of kindness, but anyone who knows that Yi Duan and Lu Qi have a bad relationship knows that Yi Duan is using this opportunity to humiliate Lu Qi. Lu Qi was not annoyed at all by Yi Duan's clumsy trick. He just treated it as a monkey jumping around. He said, Yi Duan, if you are really that rich, then please invite all the students who have not expressed their opinions to go together. There are many students in the class whose families are average, and there are still 20 students who have not expressed their opinions. If I were to pay for all these students to go, I would have to spend at least 40,000 or 50,000 yuan. Although Yi Duan's family is rich, 40 or 50,000 is a lot for him. Lu Qi, you are really good at borrowing flowers to offer to Budo. Do you think I am a sucker? You are so awesome, why don't you treat it yourself? Yi Duan sneered. That's right. Duan invited you, but not only did you not appreciate it, you also deliberately made things difficult for Duan. If you have the guts, why don't you invite everyone yourself? Cielina chimed in. Of course I can invite these students, but in this case, everyone will have to wait until I finish driving practice, about half a month later. Lu Qi said. Is Lu Qi being taken advantage of just for the sake of pride? Of course not. Those 20 classmates whose families were average had a decent relationship with him. Before everyone went their separate ways, Lu Qi thought it was worth spending tens of thousands of dollars to treat everyone to 2 days of fun to commemorate the 3 years of high school. Money can't buy my willingness. This is what Lu Qi thought. However, his words immediately attracted Yi Duan's ridicule. Har, everyone can brag. Lu Qi, don't treat us as fools. You can't even spend a few $1,000s, how can you afford to treat us? Cielina also laughed and said, that's right. Class monitor, why don't we postpone the party for half a month and see if Lu Qi will invite everyone then? If he breaks his promise, kick him out of the group. Seeing Yi Duan and Cielina team up to mock Lu Qi, some classmates couldn't stand it anymore. Zhu Xiaogang, Yi Duan, Cielina, Lu Qi was just joking, do you have to say it so harshly? However, Lu Qi said, Xiaogang, I'm not kidding, I'm serious. As long as we postpone the party for half a month, I can invite more than 20 classmates who haven't expressed their opinions just now to go with us. What? The classmates who were on good terms with Lu Qi were completely dumbfounded, not understanding what Lu Qi was up to. TSK. Squad leader, then we'll postpone it for half a month. Yi Duan smiled very proudly, because he felt that Lu Qi was driven mad by his provocation. As long as Lu Qi breaks his promise, he will lose face and will never be able to raise his head in front of his classmates again. Class monitor Liang Yi and Yi Duan had a good relationship, so he also wanted to see Lu Qi's joke, so he said, then let's set the date for the party in half a month. In half a month, everyone will have filled out their volunteers, and there will be more to talk about then. Brother Lu, what are you doing? Zhu Xiaogang chatted privately with Lu Qi anxiously. He had a good relationship with Lu Qi and naturally didn't want Lu Qi to make a fool of himself in class. Lu Qi smiled and said, didn't I just say that I want to invite you to go to Carlton Resort Hotel together? But for more than 20 people, it would cost at least 40,000 or 50,000 yuan. Where do you get so much money? Zhu Xiaogang had a basic understanding of Lu Qi's family situation. Har, you'll know that when the time comes. Lu Qi smiled and changed the subject, how are you doing in your hometown? Zhu Xiaogang said, I have been harvesting rice these past 2 days. It is very tiring, but very meaningful. While the two were chatting, Yi Duan was also chatting with Cielina. Duan, I feel that Lu Qi shouldn't be that stupid. Will he really invite everyone to go? Cielina said. If he has the money to invite everyone, I'll call him grandpa. Even if it's me, I can't just casually take out 40,000 or 50,000, let alone him. Yi Duan sneered, "Don't worry, he was just angry about what we said in the group and said that impulsively. We just need to wait for half a month to see his joke." Chapter 8: Passing the second test and buying a driving school. The next day, the stock market continued. Lawnmower technology fell 2 points in the first half hour, but half an hour later, it rose rapidly until it reached the daily limit. Lu Qi's stock account made a profit of more than 30 million that day. Lawnmower technology has hit the daily limit for 2 consecutive days, with a cumulative increase of more than 40%. Most people would choose to close their positions with profits and would not take the risk of continuing to hold positions. But Lu Qi knew that lawnmower technology would have another daily limit tomorrow. So he was not in a hurry. It's so cool. In the examination room for Subject 2, Lu Qi was in a good mood as he looked at the profits in his stock account. The other people who were queuing up to prepare for the exam were all very nervous, except Lu Qi, who smiled from time to time. After waiting in line for more than an hour, it was finally Lu Qi's turn to take the exam. Almost half of the students from the same school who came with him failed the exam. This made Lu Qi a little nervous when he first got in the car. However, as the car started, his attention was entirely focused on the content of the test. First, reverse into the parking space, then park parallelly, then drive in a curve and make a right-angle turn. Everything went well. Finally, the only thing left is to start from a fixed point on the slope. Although success is right in front of us, we still cannot be careless, because many people depend on this. However, Lu Qi was already as skilled as an experienced driver, and the possibility of an accident was minimal. In the end, he successfully completed all the contents of Subject 2 without any suspense. Ding, congratulations to the host for passing the second subject exam, and I will give you 5 little red flowers as a reward. When Lu Qi passed the exam, the system gave him a reward. 5 little red flowers. Lu Qi was overjoyed. He didn't expect the system to reward him with so many red flowers at once. He immediately used the 5 little red flowers to exchange for 5 chances to draw a lottery. Ding, the result of this lottery is empty. Ding, the result of this lottery is empty. Lu Qi was very depressed because he didn't win any prizes in the previous 4 draws. Fortunately, I won a business opportunity in the 5th draw. The business opportunity is, 2 months later, the new mayor of Nansha will release the city development plan for the next 10 years. New Tuju, with Baoguo Driving School as the center, will become the focus of development. The more than 100 acres of land of Baoguo Driving School will be worth 800 million from the current 20 million. Currently, the owner of Baoguo Driving School has run into problems in his business and is seeking to sell the entire driving school for 50 million. After reading the business opportunity content, Lu Qi was happy. This Baoguo Driving School is the driving school where he is learning to drive now. According to the business opportunity, the more than 100 acres of land that Baoguo Driving School owns belongs to the driving school. If you buy Baoguo Driving School now, you can make nearly 800 million in a few months. After printing the results, Lu Qi and other students took a bus back to the driving school. He found the driving school manager's office, knocked on the door and walked in. "Classmate, what do you want?" The driving school manager was a young woman in a professional suit. She had a smile on her face and a nice attitude. "I want to find the owner of Baoguo Driving School," Lu Qi said. "Why are you looking for our boss? Do you want to complain about your coach? If so, just tell me directly." Manager Wang Yang thought Lu Qi was here to complain about the coach. Lu Qi shook his head and said, "I heard that your boss is planning to sell this driving school. I want to talk to him." Wang Yang was very surprised to learn of Lu Qi's purpose. She looked Lu Qi up and down and said, "Classmate, don't joke with me." Lu Qi didn't explain much. He took out a stack of 100 yuan bills from his pocket and placed them on the table in front of Wang Yang. He said, "This is a reward for you. If the deal is successful, there will be more rewards. That stack of $100 bills is at least 1,000 yuan. This time Wang Yang was shocked. Just now she thought Lu Qi was playing a prank. After all, Lu Qi was very young and didn't look like someone who could buy a driving school. But would someone who doesn't look very rich take out more than $1,000 to play a prank? Furthermore, if this young man was just an ordinary person, he would not have known that the driving school was being sold. "Classmate, what's your name?" "My name is Lu Qi." "Mr. Lu, please take the money back." "I can't take it. I'll go get our boss over now." Wang Yang did not take Lu Qi's money, but she did not trust Lu Qi 100%. It just so happened that the owner of the driving school was there today, so she decided to let the boss talk to the young man in person. At this time, in an office, the owner of the driving school, He Rongbo, stood in front of the window, overlooking the entire driving school. His driving school has a relatively stable source of students, which can bring him a profit of 2 million every year. Under normal circumstances, he would be reluctant to sell it. But now, his other business ran into problems and he owed the bank a large sum of money, so he had no choice but to sell this driving school with great reluctance. Mr. He, there is a young man who wants to discuss the acquisition of our driving school with you. Wang Yang found He Rongbo and said. What kind of young man? He Rongbo asked curiously. Wang Yang recounted what had just happened in her office. Could it be some invisible rich second generation? After being in the society for many years, He Rongbo knew that one should not judge a person by his appearance, so he went to the manager's office to receive Lu Qi as soon as possible. Mr. Lu, I heard that you want to acquire our driving school. As He Rongbo spoke, he secretly observed Lu Qi. He found that although this young man was dressed in ordinary clothes, he behaved steadily and was definitely not a worldly wise person. Yes. Lu Qi said, I heard from a friend that Baoguo driving school is going to be transferred, and I am quite interested in taking it over. Who is Mr. Lu's friend? There's no need to ask Mr. He about this. Well, I was abrupt. Seeing that Lu Qi didn't seem to want to reveal his identity, He Rongbo didn't ask because it didn't matter. Xiaoyan, take the company's information to Mr. Lu for review. Okay, boss. Wang Yang brought the financial and other information of the company to which the driving school belonged to Lu Qi for him to look through. Lu Qi flipped through it casually and found that the more than 100 acres of land did belong to the driving school. As for the rest, he was too lazy to look carefully. Mr. He, please name a price. Seeing that Lu Qi was full of confidence, He Rongbo became even more convinced that Lu Qi was some invisible rich second generation. Mr. Lu, you have just seen the situation of our driving school. We have a stable source of students and an annual profit of more than 2 million. The price of 60 million is still reasonable, right? He Rongbo said. One price, 50 million. Lu Qi said sparingly, if Mr. He is willing, we can sign the contract today. The price of 50 million is about what He Rongbo expected. In order to complete the transaction as quickly as possible and get the money, he finally agreed to the price. On that day, Lu Qi found a law firm and entrusted it to help him handle various matters related to the acquisition. The next day, He Rongbo received 50 million, and Lu Qi officially became the boss of Baoguo Driving School. Boss, do you have any instructions for the work of our driving school? Manager Wang Yang stood in front of Lu Qi respectfully. She was worried that the new boss Lu Qi would replace several management members. You are still in charge of the driving school, just like before. Lu Qi's words finally put Wang Yang's heart at ease. By the way, I have to practice subject 3 today. Please arrange the best instructor for me. Now that the driving school has become his own, Lu Qi naturally wants to enjoy the treatment that a boss should have. Okay boss, I'll arrange it for you. After sending Lu Qi out of the office, Wang Yang felt like she was dreaming. Who could have thought that this ordinary-looking young man would become the new boss of the driving school? A young man who came to learn how to drive ended up buying the driving school. I'm afraid no one would believe this if I told them. But Wang Yang liked this new boss very much. Not only was he handsome, but he also kept his word. He increased her salary by 2,000 yuan. Chapter 9 Subject 3, Meeting the School Beauty. After buying the driving school, Lu Qi only had a few million left in his bank account, because most of his funds were in his stock account. Today is the last day for Molong Technology to hit the daily limit. Not long after the market opened in the morning, Molong Technology hit the daily limit. The cumulative increase in 3 days is more than 70%, 3.2 times -1. Lu Qi had no idea about the future trend of Molong Technology. According to the content of the business opportunity, he sold all the stocks he held. The funds he bought on the first day were 150 million, and the total funds in the account after clearing the positions were 250 million. Net profit of 100 million. Boss, this is Coach Wang Xiaye. In the afternoon, Lu Qi returned to the driving school, and Wang Yang introduced a female coach to him. Although Coach Xiaye is a female coach, she is the ace coach of our school. The passing rate of students in Subject 3 is the highest in the school. When Wang Yang introduced her, Wang Xiaye was secretly shocked. This new boss is too young. Boss, the students under Coach Xiaye have been transferred to other coaches, but there is still a female student who has not been transferred. That female student is about your age and is very beautiful. It is no exaggeration to say that she is the most beautiful girl I have ever seen. Do you want to keep her? Wang Yang said. Originally, Lu Qi only asked Wang Yang to arrange the best coach for him and did not intend to interfere with other students. But now that Wang Yang has made the arrangements, he cannot blame her. After all, as a subordinate, Wang Yang did this to please him as her boss. The rest don't need to be transferred. Yes, okay, boss. Wang Yang thought she had arranged it perfectly and created an opportunity for her boss to meet a beautiful girl. But in fact, Lu Qi was not very interested in the so-called pretty girls. He simply did not want to interfere with the normal driving practice of other students. In his opinion, no matter how pretty a girl was, could she be as pretty as the girl next door, Su Xiaomi? Next, Coach Wang Xiaye drove Lu Qi to the driving practice road for Subject 3. Boss, let's pick up Yang on the way. Okay. By the way, Coach Wang, just call me Xiaolu from now on. 10 minutes later, the training car stopped at an intersection. Lu Qi looked through the car window and saw a girl standing outside. The girl was wearing a light blue dress and had 2 pigtails. She was slender, fresh and elegant, and her fair skin sparkled in the sun. When he saw the girl's appearance clearly, Lu Qi was stunned. It's her? Yang Qingling, the famous school beauty of Nansha No. 3 Middle School. Lu Qi and Yang Qingling were in the same class, but Yang Qingling was an art student and was often not in class, so he and Yang Qingling were just acquaintances and not close at all. In No. 3 Middle School, Yang Qingling is the goddess in the eyes of almost all boys, and those who want to pursue her can line up for several streets. Lu Qi never expected that the student in the same car for Subject 3 would be Yang Qingling. When Yang Qingling opened the car door, Lu Qi only felt a breath of youthful beauty blowing towards him. In terms of appearance, Yang Qingling is a stunning beauty on the same level as Su Xiaomi. But the two have different temperaments. Su Xiaomi is intellectual and elegant, like an elegant goddess, while Yang Qingling is delicate and sweet, like a pure fairy. You are, Lu Qi. Yang Qingling was also a little surprised to see Lu Qi sitting in the back row. Yang Qingling, you are also learning to drive. Lu Qi smiled and waved. Yang Qingling nodded. The two men were not familiar with each other, and after they greeted each other, the carriage fell silent. Seeing that neither of them was chatting, Coach Wang Xiaye felt a little anxious. Wang Xiaye was very happy that Lu Qi and Yang Qingling knew each other. She thought that if the boss and this beautiful girl could get together in her car, then she would be considered half a matchmaker for the boss. After a while, the training car arrived at the teaching section. There are fewer cars on this section of road and the road conditions are similar to those of the test section. Boss, who among you will practice first? Wang Xiaye still calls Lu Qi boss. Let Yang Qingling practice first. Okay, boss. Yang Qingling thought she had misheard at first, but Wang Xiaye called Lu Qi boss several more times afterwards. She couldn't help but wonder why the coach called Lu Qi like that. Yang Qingling was not a talkative person. Although she was curious, she did not ask. She moved to the driver's seat and started the day's practice. Yang Qingling has been practicing Subject 3 for 3 days and has mastered most of the operations. Lu Qi sat in the back row and could clearly see Yang Qingling's perfect profile, and even the fine hair on her ears. Boss, are you and Yang classmates? Wang Xiaye found a topic to chat about. Yes. Seeing that Wang Xiaye insisted on calling him boss, Lu Qi was too lazy to correct her. No wonder, one of you is handsome and the other is beautiful, a perfect match, you look like you are from the same class. Wang Xiaye's words made Lu Qi feel awkward. He thought, Coach Wang, just give me good guidance and stop flattering me. It's as if you took my money. An hour later, it was Lu Qi's turn to practice. Student John, please teach our boss. Wang Xiaye said to Yang Qingling. Yang Qingling was stunned for a moment, and Lu Qi was also stunned. Coach Wang, but I don't even know how to do it completely myself, said Yang Qingling. It is precisely because you are not proficient enough that I ask you to teach others. Because through the process of teaching others, you can further increase your own proficiency. Wang Xiaye said. This sounds reasonable, and Wang Xiaye is a gold medal coach, so what she said is even more reliable. But Lu Qi understood that Wang Xiaye was probably deliberately creating an opportunity for him to come into contact with Yang Qingling. Coach Wang, you should teach me. Lu Qi secretly glared at Wang Xiaye, signaling her not to match people up with other girls anymore. Oh, okay, boss. Wang Xiaye understood what he meant and had to put aside her thoughts of being a matchmaker and concentrate on teaching. Yang Qingling, who was sitting in the back row, looked between Lu Qi and Wang Xiaye, her big eyes thoughtful. He should be the owner of the driving school. Yang Qingling is not stupid, on the contrary, she is very smart. She basically determined Lu Qi's identity from the way Wang Xiaye addressed him and her attitude. He is a very low-key person. Yang Qingling's understanding of Lu Qi was limited. Only now did she realize that Lu Qi's family should be very rich and that Lu Qi was a low-key person, unlike other rich second generations who were ostentatious and domineering. At this time, Lu Qi temporarily forgot about Yang Qingling's existence and devoted himself to the practice of Subject 3. By the end of the 4 class hours of the day, he had mastered most of the key points. Ding, congratulations to their host for mastering shifting gears, changing lanes, etc., and a little red flower as a reward. The system rewarded Lu Qi. Exchange for the lottery. Ding, the lottery is in progress. Congratulations to their host for winning a talent card. Do you want to check it now? This time, Lu Qi drew a new type of prize, a talent card. He chose to check it out immediately. Yang Qingling, an S-level artistic talent, the future queen of film, television and music. If we invest resources in her, she will be famous all over the country within a year. What surprised Lu Qi was that this talent card was actually related to Yang Qingling. Yang Qingling is very talented in dancing, singing and performing, which is known to everyone in number 3 middle school. At every evening party, Yang Qingling's show is always the finale. But Lu Qi didn't expect that Yang Qingling's future development would be so good that she could become a triple talented queen of film, television and music. This means that if Yang Qingling is signed now, at least 100 million or 200 million yuan can be earned from Yang Qingling every year in the future. In the Chinese entertainment industry, it is easier for first-line stars to make money than to pick up money. However, Lu Qi did not have an artist company under his name, and he did not plan to set up one because it would be too energy-consuming. So even though he knew Yang Qingling's future achievements in advance, he couldn't do anything. Chapter 10 Crazy Futures, School Bell's Mother. After practicing driving, the sun had already set. Lu Qi had a simple dinner and went to the swimming pool alone. He didn't go to learn freestyle swimming last night because he wanted to wait for Su Xiangmi to teach him. But Su Xiangmi has to work overtime again tonight, and she probably won't be free at night during this period, so he can only study by himself. Now that he has learned the breaststroke, he should be able to handle the freestyle on his own. So many bikinis. Lu Qilai still went to the swimming pool of the 5-star hotel he visited last time. This time there were many more young girls in the swimming pool, most of them wearing bikinis, and the scene was very erotic. If Sister Xiangmi also wore a bikini, I don't think I could handle it. Lu Qi subconsciously imagined Su Xiangmi wearing a bikini swimsuit. With Su Xiangmi's figure, if she wore this kind of revealing bikini, she would be absolutely sexy. Next, Lu Qi entered the swimming pool and began to practice freestyle swimming alone. Although there were many girls in the swimming pool, no one could distract him because these girls were far inferior to Su Xiangmi. The key to freestyle swimming is catching the water, turning, breathing and kicking. After half an hour of practice, Lu Qi slowly mastered the essentials. Another half an hour later, Lu Qi was able to swim back and forth in the pool in a standard freestyle posture. Ding, congratulations to their host for learning freestyle swimming, a little red flower as a reward. Lu Qi's progress in swimming was rewarded by the system. Exchange for the lottery. The lucky draw is in progress. Congratulations to their host for winning a business opportunity. Do you want to view the details now? Check now. Business opportunity content. In the next 3 days, silver futures will first surge by 20% and then plunge by 10%. After reading the details of the business opportunity, Lu Qi felt that this business opportunity was not simple. When he had free time these days, he read a lot of financial knowledge, some of which was about futures. Domestic silver futures generally have a leverage of about 5 to 15 times. The specific leverage ratio depends on the margin ratio stipulated at the time. After Lu Qi came out of the swimming pool, he checked the current silver futures margin ratio, which was 10%. This means that with an investment of only 10,000 yuan, you can leverage 100,000 yuan of funds. If the silver futures price rises by 1 point, the profit will reach 10 points if you go long. If it rises by 20%, the profit can reach 200% if you go long. If it drops by 10%, you can make a 100% profit by shorting it. Whether futures prices rise or fall, as long as you buy in the right direction, you can make money. Lu Qi roughly calculated that as long as he seized this business opportunity, his cumulative profit would reach 300%. Specifically, if you invest 100 million, you can earn 300 million. Thinking of this, Lu Qi's heart was burning with excitement, and he wanted to rush into the futures market to fight immediately. The next morning, Lu Qi came to the futures company and opened up futures trading permissions. How much money should I invest? Lu Qi currently has 250 million in funds on hand. The 150 million was earned from gambling on stones, the 100 million was earned from the stock market, and the 50 million from the lottery was used to acquire a driving school. After thinking about it, Lu Qi decided to transfer all 250 million into the futures account. At this time, the price of silver futures has not fluctuated much. Next, he continued to go long on silver futures with a leverage ratio of 10 times. After more than an hour of operation, he bought 200 million yuan of funds, and he did not touch the remaining 50 million yuan to avoid automatic liquidation due to insufficient account margin when silver futures have a short-term decline. Thanks to Lu Qi's 200 million yuan in funds, the price of silver futures rose by 1 point in the morning. In the afternoon, silver futures rose by 6 points as if by injection of chicken blood. After a tenfold leverage, Lu Qi's profit reached 50%. 10 times 6-1. Cool. Looking at the 100 million yuan profit in his account, Lu Qi laughed out loud with excitement. At the same time, I can't help but sigh that the risks in the futures market are no less than gambling. If he had gone short instead of long, he would have lost 100 million. How much money someone makes, someone else loses. If it weren't for the system, Lu Qi would probably never have set foot in the futures market. Lu Qi, it's your turn to practice driving. Lu Qi was grinning foolishly when suddenly a pleasant voice came to his ears. He looked up and saw that Yang Qingling had left the driver's seat and opened the back door. Oh. Lu Qi put away his phone and moved to the driver's seat. Lu Qi, are you trading futures? When Lu Qi was practicing driving, Yang Qingling suddenly asked. She just accidentally saw that the futures software was opened on Lu Qi's mobile phone. After spending the previous day together, the two of them were no longer so unfamiliar with each other, and they could occasionally find topics to talk about. Yes. Lu Qi nodded. The futures market is very risky. I advise you not to play it. When Yang Qingling said this, her expression was very serious. Well, thank you for the reminder. Yang Qingling's kind reminder made Lu Qi feel the kindness of this school beauty. At the same time, he was also very curious about why Yang Qingling knew so much about futures, so he asked, Yang Qingling, how come you also know about futures? Because I have a relative who lost everything and his wife and children were separated because of futures trading, said Yang Qingling. Lu Qi glanced at the rearview mirror and saw a hint of hatred in Yang Qingling's eyes. It seemed that she hated futures. It is not difficult to see that the relative Yang Qingling was talking about has a close relationship with her, and might even be her family member. Futures are gambling. From a certain perspective, they are even more dangerous than gambling, Yang Qingling added. That's exactly right. Although Lu Qi had just made 100 million in the futures market, he fully agreed with Yang Qingling's point of view. Then why did you use the futures software just now? Ahem, it's precisely because I've come into contact with it that I know how harmful it is. This made sense, and Yang Qingling didn't delve into it further. After all, she and Lu Qi were not very familiar with each other. Even if Lu Qi really traded in futures, she had already reminded him, and whether he listened or not was none of her business. However, the topic of futures also allowed the two to become closer, and gradually they had more and more to talk about. Yang Qingling, how many points did you get in the college entrance examination? 500 points. A college entrance examination score of 500 is not considered high, but you have to know that Yang Qingling is an art student and her art exam score was full marks. Therefore, her 500 points are more valuable than Lu Qi's 573 points. Before I knew it, it was evening and the driving practice was over. A beautiful young woman came to pick up Yang Qingling in a Mercedes-Benz A-Class sedan. Lu Qi, I'm leaving first. Yan Qingling waved towards Lu Qi. Qingling, who was the boy standing with you just now? After Yan Qingling got in the car, the beautiful young woman driving the car asked her. That's the guy who practiced driving with me. He's also my classmate. Yan Qingling replied. Classmate. The beautiful young woman frowned slightly and said, Qingling, you have to remember that you are going to be a big star in the future, so try to have less contact with ordinary people like this, so as not to become your black material in the future. Mom, I just said a few words to him, why do you have to worry about it? Yan Qingling said helplessly. It turns out that this beautiful young woman is Yan Qingling's mother. Mom, this is for your own good. Fang Yorong said earnestly, in a couple of days, Mr. Cai from Jinhong Entertainment will come to Nansha to interview you in person, so don't practice driving these 2 days. Prepare well and try to make a good impression on Mr. Cai so that you can sign a good contract. New. Chapter 11 Profit of 600 million, by Entertainment Company. Over the next 2 days, the trend of silver futures was the same as described in the business opportunities. First, it rose by 20%, and then fell by 10%. Countless accounts were forced to close their positions, losing all their money, and some even owed money to futures companies. At the highest point, Lu Qi converted his long position into a short position. After 3 days of operation, the profit reached 300% of the initial purchase capital. The cumulative profit reached an astonishing 600 million. The total funds in the account reached 850 million. Wang Kai did not use his full strength to deal with Jin Bing, because he had already tested Jin Bing's strength and knew that Jin Bing was not worth his full strength. There was no point in using a butcher knife to kill a chicken. He knew that Mo Shan'an must be very busy before the matter was resolved. But he could not imagine that he would become so haggard all of a sudden. The high-spirited Mo Shan'an, who was so high and mighty before, now had a somewhat desolate aura. Seeing that he agreed, Li Danruo pulled Jiang Yangming. Jiang Yangming smiled and bowed to Guoshu and said goodbye. Then he took Li Danruo out of the corner gate, crossed several alleys, got into the car and went back. Speed 3000, a plagiarized post can ruin my reputation. Are you too naive, Tang Xian? Chu Wani deliberately said some random things, and the implicit meaning of her words was to apologize to Ling Yan. After he said that, I felt relieved. I mustered up the courage to come here just to find out the truth. Now that he is willing to tell me, my adventure has come to a successful conclusion. Now that your brother is married, he won't think about you all the time. Leng Morchen said without hesitation. After sitting on the ground for a while, I got up and went to the bedroom to get a blanket to cover him. I couldn't hold him, so I had to let him sleep here. As I said this, I was also amazed. You know, my perception is very sharp. She came behind me and I didn't feel anything at all. If she wanted to plot against me, I would have fallen into her trap for sure. Once the cavalry charge reaches a speed of 40 km per hour, the shield bearer will definitely be knocked away. Even if he is not knocked away, he will actually break his bones. Using a shield to defend against a cavalry charge is basically like holding a pack of dynamite to blow up a tank. The loss of infantry shield bearers will definitely be more serious than that of cavalry. As the two were arguing, the jaguars dispersed one by one and hid in the trees and grass. A few of them broke away from the encirclement and ran outside, disappearing into the dense jungle in the blink of an eye. Although he was the pharaoh of Egypt and his heart was filled with humiliation, he was helpless, so he could only vent his depressed emotions on his enemies. If it were not for these enemies, how could he have been insulted like this? So after she finished her affairs in the United States, she immediately booked a flight ticket back home. After Shaman Kaiyun was defeated in the Diking territory, he immediately retreated to the Daishan territory, because they had no time to take back the Diu territory. If they stayed in the Diu territory, their every move would be controlled by the Darky Divine Court. Who said we're going to hold a demon sacrifice ceremony? That's just a move by the sect leader to test the for major families. The man in the pink satin cloak suddenly changed the subject. A scent of magnolia flowers wafted in the breeze. Matchmaker Qian stood sideways at the door of her house, glancing at the two sisters. The older one is really promising. Recently, she has something to say when she is scolded. In Yicheng, Yang State, Murong Jun had been seriously ill since the defeat in Ling County. Despite repeated treatment by the imperial physician, Murong Jun's health had not improved but had deteriorated. However, Guihu is a place where only strength matters and there is no lore. It is actually the same whether there is the Golden Eagle order or not. Gao Jingzong can still do what he wants and prosper, and what he wants will perish. She is now far away from her family in this foreign world. It is not too much to build a palace that suits her taste, right? Chapter 12, Signing a Contract and Becoming the Boss of the School Beauty. Ms. Fang, Yang Qingling, hello, do you remember me? In the elevator, someone greeted Fang Yorong and her daughter. Fang Yorong looked up and recognized Dong Ni, the manager of Huazhong Culture's artist department. Yang Qingling is well known in the art examination circle of Nansha. Dong Ni knew about the existence of this good seedling a year ago, and she has always wanted to sign Yang Qingling to Huazhong Culture. Unfortunately, Huazhong Culture could not meet Fang Yorong's request for an advance payment of several million. Has Qingling signed a contract with any company now? Dong Ni took the initiative. Hyuger Hainater does look weird. As Black Zetsu spoke, the current appearance of Hyuger Hainater appeared in his mind. He missed his mother more and more. He did not think this was a good thing, but became more cautious. She controlled the air with one hand, the objects around her were motionless, and the air seemed to be suspended. Shuyo was in a very bad mood and took out his anger on Mu Fengliang. He clearly had a lot of supplies in his hands, but he still had to ask Mu Fengliang for supplies. When she realized that she had fully recovered from her injury and looked unharmed in just 2 days. The others listened to their ancestors' words, knowing in their hearts that it was impossible to change anything, so they all ran to line up. This village chief is quite interesting. When he arrived at Third Uncle's place, he first denied everything he said. After bringing them here, he secretly called Lu Tongfang when no one was around. Why couldn't he just say it directly? Why did he have to be so secretive? He is just a teenager, probably not even a medicine boy, let alone an alchemist. She didn't tell my Jersey too many details, but my Jersey was very happy after knowing the North District's position. She also didn't believe that Lin Mo would do anything detrimental to the alliance, otherwise she wouldn't have risked her life to fight alongside them at Baiyun Peak. The general looked middle-aged, but his deep eyes did not match his temperament at all, making people feel weird. The middle-aged general answered slowly without saying a word. When Li Bai looked at the sea, there was always a layer of black mist lingering on the surface of the water in the desolate sea. It felt like it was shrouded in the primeval death. However, above the desolate sea, there was no primeval death. It was dead and gloomy over there. At first glance, the weather was very good. As soon as Tan Jie finished speaking, Luo Feng slapped him in the face. Luo Feng's slap was not strong, but compared to the strength of an average person, it was already very heavy. Long Feng, are you willing to be my disciple? Wei Ji did not wait for Kai Lian's reply and directly asked Long Feng a confusing question. Although Shindake looked a little embarrassed, his face was calm, and there was no panic in his eyes. The sound of their corpse-controlling bell in his right hand became more urgent, and 3 high-level human zombies were already fighting with Yashua. You are going to be the head of the family, and now you can't just take care of the company's affairs. Chen Danian took a deep breath and thought. Okay. Luo Feng thought to himself, is my luck with love coming? Is she going to invite me to her house? Looking at this girl up close, her skin is as white as snow, and she has a fragrant scent. When I smell it, I feel comfortable all over, my heart is restless, and I feel extremely excited. At the moment of disappearing, Su Shichi happened to see the old leader of the Haishuan tribe who had retreated to Old Nyo and tried to seek his help to deal with the man in green robe. His face was full of surprise, as he never expected that the man in green robe would do such a thing. After hanging up the phone with her mother, Li Wei fell into trouble again. She didn't know how to respond to Zhao Qian's offer of help. Therefore, at this moment when the game has just begun, when players do not know the specific gameplay of the game and everyone is a novice, it is the best time to earn acceleration points. Chapter 13, Mom thinks this boy is good. Boss, this is Yang Qingling's mother, Ms. Fang Yorong. Ms. Fang, this is our boss Lu Qi. Dong Ni's introduction confirmed Lu Qi's identity as the new boss of Huazhong Culture, and Fang Yorong was very shocked. Previously, she had warned her daughter not to have too much contact with ordinary people like Lu Qi, but she never expected that this boy was not an ordinary person at all. At the same time, Lu Qi was also looking at Fang Yorong. Fang Yorong has maintained herself very well, and looks no more than 30 years old. She has a good temperament and exudes the charm of a young woman. She doesn't look like an 18-year-old at all. The fat white man and the old man did not speak, but continued to drink, glancing into the valley from time to time. Let's go. Finally, as his voice sounded, under his leadership, 30,000 troops walked out of the valley at the same time. Is there a lot of essence in the pool? Xianqian was surprised. He bent down and sensed it carefully. He really found that the water in the pool was gentle, filled with a large amount of essence and divine liquid, exuding fragrance. As we walked deeper and deeper into the snow, we finally heard the sound of gurgling water and saw a mist rising from afar, like a fairyland. The ice and snow in the valley melted, and a clear hot spring flowed down from above, emitting a thin layer of steam. Are you kidding? It is only at the level of a ridgemaster. How can it possibly beat this big grey bird? I am afraid that once they fight, it will really become a piece of cake for this guy. Second brother. Feng Juwu propped herself up slightly, leaning higher, almost sitting on the bed. I want to know why third brother harbors hidden hostility towards Miss Yuan. Feng Juwu also asked directly. A sneer was heard suddenly. Everyone was startled and looked in the direction where the sound came from. They saw a half-crouching figure appear on the steep rock at the other end, with a light orange robe fluttering in the wind. Da Jin didn't mind the dirtiness. He reached in with one hand and took out the round object. The moment he touched the thing, Da Jin frowned. It's soft, it's not beads, what the hell is this thing? Then he took out the thing. As for the Dragon Ball, that was a matter of chance. Shui Jingyu was also asking other members of the Dragon Clan to go out and look for it. He didn't need to take action until any trace was found. So Shui Jingyu moved his government affairs into the space every day, eagerly hoping that his son and wife would come out of seclusion as soon as possible. Government offices across the country had no choice but to raise interest rates and sell new bonds, but this would in turn overwhelm the finances, which was simply drinking poison to quench thirst. This is an abandoned gold panning cave located below the Daban Pass. The entrance to the cave is very hidden and difficult to find for people who have never been there. At 3:30, the Prime Minister of Yuhong Kingdom held a press conference and announced that he had urgently purchased 50,000 doses of Konya medicine, which would be delivered to the Fukushima area before dark. After the pepper cake is baked, it becomes round and plump like a steamed bun. For some reason, this shape makes Yixia more appetizing. Shang Guanyun and Ku Qingqing both knew that she was very hungry. Although they saw that she ate in an uncouth manner, they had no intention of making fun of her. Instead, they felt pity for her. Drinking tofu pudding and eating fried dough sticks is such a wonderful breakfast. Although there are many varieties of breakfast, this kind of breakfast cannot fade and it is still so delicious. He has been like this for 3 years. 10 minutes ago, the instrument detected violent fluctuations in brain waves. The doctor thought he was about to wake up. Zhu Chengfeng shook his head and sighed. Chang Yang never fights a battle without confidence. In view of Zhong's past misdeeds, he had found out everything about him early on. Knowing both yourself and your enemy will ensure victory in every battle. But contrary to Zhu Yunwen's expectations, within 10 days, the Jingnan army broke through Jinan, the Shandong defense line collapsed, and the Jingnan troops advanced to the two Huai regions. This shook the entire Jiangnan region and people were in panic. Hua Qinxiong was slightly stunned. He did not expect Fang Yi to answer so sincerely and straightforwardly. Xiao Chen saw that Yi Yun had a somewhat unfriendly expression on his face, and it was obvious that he did not like the Six-Spin Tower's style of doing things because of this owl. He smiled faintly and asked Qi Ji. Chapter 14. Su Xiangmi sprained her ankle. Should we let Sister Xiangmi go to work at Huazhong Culture? Lu Qi thought about this question. He wanted to provide Su Xiangmi with a job with a high monthly salary. However, Huazhong Culture belongs to the film and television media industry, which is inconsistent with the industry that Su Xiangmi is engaged in. Don't be in a hurry, wait and see what rewards you can get after passing the third subject. After thinking it over, Lu Qi decided not to mention this matter to Su Xiangmi for the time being. Suddenly, he saw a friend request on his phone. Click to see, apply. Su Qing became suspicious of Xian Ziyi and exchanged a glance with Fei Lai, and the two of them went to the barren mountains outside the nearest town outside the sect. After Fu Lu received the message, he immediately rode Yanding to the headmaster's mountain and waited for the notification before entering the hall. Everyone looked at Yuan Fei with curiosity. They didn't understand what the specific formation was, but the 4 words, "Your life is not in danger," eased the tense atmosphere little. The body is full of vitality, but the soul is in the abyss. Zhang Yang's face turned slightly pale, and the hope that had just risen in his heart fell into despair again. Next, the cloud god, rain god, and moon god will present gifts. After the ancient gods have finished presenting their gifts, it will be the turn of the immortals to present their gifts. But the danger had not completely passed. At least before they got ashore, the danger still loomed over them. Chen Shou was very calm. He found a blanket on the boat, wrapped himself in it, and fell asleep directly in the cab. But perhaps because he had been reborn once through the impure world reincarnation, the Pure Land was more attractive to him. He only persisted for a moment before having to return to the Yellow Springs Pure Land. It was already dark at this moment, and the dark blue sky made the night seem not so dark. Jiangyi gritted his teeth and took the last step. At this moment, he heard a crisp sound from his neck and was twisted 180 degrees by a hand. However, Yarnyu did not move immediately, but took out a new 82mm mortar and continued firing. But Chiju Mountain is so big, it's not easy for us to find the red python monster. Zhu Buiki sighed. Suddenly, a crack slowly appeared on the golden mirror. The crack grew larger and larger, and a golden channel about 3 meters wide appeared in the mirror. He attacked several times in succession, but the griffin's body was too hard and the sky-splitting spear couldn't penetrate it at all. Li Qianyu almost collapsed. He didn't expect the griffin to be so difficult to deal with and was almost invulnerable to swords and spears. What should he do? Okay, but I can only hold out in Fenglei Town for 1 minute. If it doesn't work, let's retreat. Chu Cheng prepared the arrows. Qin Yan was also frightened by this scene. A few days ago, she personally pointed a gun at Jin Yang, but today he died in front of her in this way. These should be IGA ninjas, but it is not clear to which lord they belong to. However, these ninjas' target should be the tavern. Thank you all for your help. Yamashita Yuji bowed deeply. Zunru panicked and explained quickly, Asian, when I asked him, he didn't say it was him at all. He must have deliberately not made it clear. I thought it was. Zunru hesitated for a long time and didn't dare to say it out loud. With Delhi as a stake, things are different. Anyone who causes trouble for the factory is just stealing money from Delhi. Will Delhi agree to this? She knew very well in her heart that He Yuhao did this just to make Ling Yinian marry Mo, shouting regardless of everything. No matter what happened to Nyan Nyan in the future, He Yuhao would be willing to stay by her side. He glanced over and saw Su Yaxin staring at him with a warning look on her face, as if to say, if you dare to face Lan Mingjia's move, this fairy will teach you a lesson. Not long after, a yin-yang black and white lotus slowly blossomed, and a hazy figure emerged from the darkness. If Xiong Feng really has the talent to be a true disciple, he can also use the Tower Challenge to demonstrate his strength and spread his name to his fellow disciples in the sect, letting everyone know that there is such a new genius in the sect. Then, he can announce the fact that he is the 4th true disciple, which will convince everyone. Chapter 15. Sister Xiangmi was bullied. That night, Lu Qi had a dream. He dreamed that Su Xiangmi raised 2 big white rabbits. The 2 white rabbits were jumping in front of him, and he was so hungry that he couldn't help but eat them all. When he woke up the next day, Lu Qi awkwardly went into the bathroom to take a shower and put on new pants. Sister Xiangmi is unable to move around easily, I'll go make breakfast for her. Lu Qi knocked on the door of the next room and prepared to feed Su Xiangmi. However, after knocking for a while, there was no response. Did he go to work? Lu Qi then called Su Xiangmi. At the same time, General Les would not watch his soldiers being shot and killed by the enemy's intercepting firepower, so he would naturally provide the necessary firepower cover. Once the anti-aircraft firepower points fired from the ground were discovered, they would be cleared by the tanks or hurricanes of the ground forces. Just now, when the weird old man Li Chuan came in, the handful of messy weeds in his hand had been crushed into half a bowl of dark green juice. Seeing Liang Fei's confident look, Wang Xiaodong immediately felt a little uneasy and actually reached for the phone with trembling hands. Since Uncle Wang didn't believe it, Liang Fei had no choice but to stop explaining and just went along with what he said, saying that he had followed his friends into business in the past few years and made some money. Everyone felt strange. Why did Ace suddenly snatch Shirleyer's magic energy ring in such a panic instead of carrying out his verbal insults? Gloria spread her hands in front of her chest, and a pendant emerged from her neck, hanging on Sanglio's staff. The wind-returning feathered robe fluttered over Naranxus' body like a wind dragon spreading its wings, causing his body to suddenly stop, with his spear pointing diagonally, still facing Lucia. Finally, he learned from Thor Yuan's memory that Torso had already taken a spaceship to the Space Alliance base, intending to transfer the control of the Earth and the Rubik's Cube planet to the Thor family. But they didn't dare to make a sound. In front of Regal Lot, making random noises was a serious matter. Shui Junyu stole the egg of the wind and thunder blue-eyed eagle from the ancient mountains. He used it as bait and went to great lengths to trigger a tide of wild beasts to attack the ancient Tai city, so that he could reap the benefits. 10 days later, Mu Yang's injuries had improved significantly. Not only had the trauma to his soul recovered by nearly half, his body was no longer as stiff as a stone as before. His neck and fingers could make some slight movements, and he could speak as well. Gradually, her self-awareness will gradually fade the impact of these negative memories, and when she thinks about them again many years later, it will probably just seem like a dream. Don't even think about it. Lai Shanhu had become abnormal at this time. Flames began to appear all over his body, and it seemed to be a wind shadow. But Fang Zhongyong was not afraid. He did not think about making something white and non-toxic like the ones in later generations. As long as it was cheap, which was the most important thing, and it would not break when used, it would be fine. As for the color, whether it was slightly toxic to the skin, it was not important. At most, he could improve it slowly in the future. Rome Di then remembered that he had demonstrated his water magic ability in the past world. To be honest, he felt a little complicated. Maybe all this was a circle. The moment the stone door opened, a brilliant white light burst out, blinding Qingqing's eyes. Brother Fang, you don't have to worry about us. We don't mean to go up the mountain. We just want to treat it as a kind of experience. Let's give it a try and come back if it doesn't work. Qingqing said. He really thought so. After all, Yushin was there. If it was too dangerous, they certainly wouldn't be too reckless. Oh, Yushin's pretty face began to turn slightly red at this time. Who cares about you? I just saw you fighting the enemy so bravely just now, and now you are so seriously injured, so I reluctantly helped you with the treatment. Yushin began to forcefully defend what she did. Chapter 16 Xiao Qi, you are so awesome. When Su Xiangmi heard Lu Qi say that he wanted to fire Meng Fang, she thought it was just something he said in anger. Xiao Qi, let's not argue with her, let's go home. Su Xiangmi gently took Lu Qi's hand. Har har, don't leave, I'm waiting for you to fire me. Meng Fang smiled arrogantly. Sister Xiangmi, let's not leave. Let's wait here for a while. Lu Qiqi looked at Meng Fang with a caring look for the mentally retarded. Waiting for what? You'll know in a moment. Yi Wuye also said coldly that the only way to deal with these geniuses is to make them convinced. Niu Chuan suddenly received a letter from Jiu Liangshi where Rui invited Shang Yanting to have a chat and bring Lang Mu leaves. He also found the Qianchen fruit. Therefore, every move is a global modification, which is almost the same as rewriting the beginning. He couldn't even hear any sound, and Lijian and Jiang Letian didn't report the situation over there to him. The two demons originally escaped together. Now that the Jiao Demon King has not escaped, the Peng Demon King will surely not abandon him. The strength displayed by DK was too strong. When other teams compared their own strength, they all shook their heads and sighed. Mo Zhuiyuan's words were almost squeezed out from between his teeth. God knows how much resentment he had endured. Although it was a Buddhist matter, the Buddhist sect in the western regions was still a foreign enemy after all. Afterwards, Lu Li made a decision that he regretted. Neither Shen Jiaxing nor Su Zhangyue paid any attention to him. They kept throwing spells at each other, as if it was either you or me. At this moment, Yu Liuming looked around and saw an endless stream of people moving in these villages. The noisy voices lifted the spirits of those who had experienced a long journey. Alyssa, what's wrong with you? What happened? After confirming that the white wolf had gone far away, Green Phoenix asked. The dark cloud was like a mouth, and when it opened, it swallowed the ball of light. Then it closed, and the light originally emitted by the ball of light disappeared. Without thinking, the white wolf used earth element magic to move the stone away. Sure enough, he found a secret door underneath it. When he opened the secret door, he saw several foxes hiding inside. He then found that a light suddenly appeared above his head, and several foxes were looking at him in astonishment. Seeing that his troops were gradually distanced from Shui Rubing, Xiaolai was anxious and selected more than 50 officers equipped with war horses from the team, led by himself, leaving the large army behind and chasing after the Shui army in front. Fortunately, hard work pays off. After overcoming numerous difficulties, they finally crossed the vast crowd and arrived at the gate of the Imperial Examination Hall. Your elemental power has also been condensed a lot. White Wolf found an open space and sat there. There was no open space in this room yesterday. Looking at it today, the furniture that was originally there has been moved away. It seems that Green Phoenix has put some thought into this negotiation. Judging from his appearance, you can tell that this person has a strong and slightly sinister personality, and is a person who never shows his emotions. On the topographic map, the most eye-catching thing is a tall mountain range extending from the northeast apex to the southwest. The stone statue that replaced the original figure was lifelike and looked no different from a real person in appearance, but that was all. So, Boss Qiandao has had contact with Zhu Yang. Qin Yun touched his own Zhu Yang spirit. Wu Shen hesitated for a moment, but finally walked up the stairs and entered the room. Although he didn't want to believe that the old man was his grandfather, he still had an inexplicable expectation in his heart, and hoped that all this was true. The man bent down and picked up the penis that had rolled to his feet. Chen Suxin stood up awkwardly as he did so. She tried to pull the penis out from between the man's fingers with a little force, but it seemed to be stuck in his hands, firmly fixed there without moving at all. Chapter 17 Investing in a Web Drama, the leading female role. Upon learning that Lu Qi had come to the company, Dong and I immediately went to the president's office. Boss, you have to help me. What's wrong, Sister Dongni? Lu Qi put down the information in his hand and asked curiously. Boss, Yang Qingling is really amazing. She is good at singing, dancing, and everything else. Isn't being excellent a good thing? Why are you still frowning? I'm worried about what resources the company can come up with for her debut work. Ordinary resources are really not worthy of her. Lu Qi agreed with this point. If you didn't see it with your own eyes, it would be hard to believe that this messy place was the spacious and chic home of the past. As soon as he finished speaking, their whole place was boiling, and thousands of people looked at Lin Qianyu in disbelief. Your Majesty, I want fish, and I also want bear's paw. We want the Turkic livestock, and we also want them to release them to the people, said Zhao Yunzi. The boss's son coming to the company has become a benefit for those employees who have not yet left work, and they all say they have made a good deal. Tu Yanbai, why do you also favor Zhao Yunzi so much? What do you want to do? Mu Qingfeng frowned deeply and said to himself. Lin Qianyu trembled all over, raised her tearful eyes, slowly pushed his hand away, and walked towards Lin's father step by step. Mr. Qin's assistant felt happy and sad for him. He wanted to say something but didn't know how to start. The Church of Light took the opportunity to launch 2 large-scale counterattacks, forcing the army of the undead back to the rear of the Averner Snow Mountain. This was the first time in nearly 1,000 years of war that the undead retreated because of the offensive of the human coalition. In the face of such a severe situation, the battlefield on Earth seemed insignificant. He could tell at a glance that Liang He was the only one who was weakest among the group, so he naturally placed the breakthrough point on him. After filling this ball, the elements bypass the pineal gland and flow to the 5 hearts, restoring the original path. Although the elements no longer impact the pineal gland, the secretion of dopamine is only slightly reduced, but it is restored to a level that the human body can control. Before Peng Laozhen and Zhang Yihang could react, the latter, like a horse that had broken free from its rope, rushed into their vast crowd with chickens, ducks, fish and meat in his hands, and his martial arts skills disappeared in the blink of an eye. Beside him, Xie Xiqing had been hit by several iron chain whips, one of his hands had turned abnormally purple, and his huge body was beaten so hard that he was running around on the ground like a dog. King Qin had high hopes for Yu Ling, so he didn't give him any more instructions and waited quietly for Yu Ling to find out the truth. They were talking about things while eating. When he heard Zhuang Yang announce the cancellation of the engagement in public yesterday, he remained skeptical. After hearing what Ucher Sasuke said, Naruto struggled to get up from the ground, blood oozing from the corner of his mouth and his chest heaving violently. Wu Feng was very curious about how the other party had recognized his true identity and dared to recruit him so blatantly. Then Li Xinyu walked around the hardware counter, but didn't find what she wanted, so she prepared to leave. In the observation room, Xia Wan and Ji Yu Qian sat together. She eventually participated in the program with Ji Yu Qian and became one of the observers. Zhao Yi saw Tang Bao was about to leave, and without caring about her exposed white thighs, she hurriedly followed him. Go away and don't touch Xinyan. The boy named Momo broke free from his restraints and immediately rushed to Mumbai, opening his arms and blocking Yi Sai Nyan behind him like a calf. These words were so profound and powerful that they made my eyes warm. Yes, no matter how we deal with those people now, Xiao Xiao will never come back. I was a little tired just now, so I lay down on the edge of the bed, thinking I would take a nap and then get up, but I fell asleep just like that. After I went upstairs, I felt my heart pounding. I called in Chi and asked her to ask around among his former friends about Chi Yu's current situation. What on earth was he doing? He acted so mysterious, like a cult. Chapter 18 Too Sweet. Lu Chi spent 300 million yuan to acquire Chunyin technology, and 400 million yuan to acquire Huazhong culture. He now has only 150 million yuan left, and he will have to invest another 40 million yuan to shoot the TV series. This money is not worth spending. Before, Lu Chi thought that more than 800 million was a lot, but now he finds that it is not enough. Fortunately, tomorrow is the day of the third subject test, and he hopes to get some business opportunities to make quick money. At 5:30 in the afternoon, Lu Chi came to Chunyin Technology to pick up Su Xiangmi after get off work. Su Xiangmi's foot journey. A green light flashed, and a moon wheel spun rapidly, circling the puppet's neck. Its ugly and ferocious head was cut off, and its body danced around for a while before it finally stopped moving and fell down. It can be seen that its vitality is very tenacious. This is a real work ID. The China Shield Bureau cannot tell anyone about this, so they issue National Security Bureau work IDs to people who might go out on business so that they have a formal identity. Taoist priest Yuanjing suddenly understood the feeling of those Buddhist monks who wanted to convert people into disciples when they saw they were destined to be together. Even if there is so much liquid funds, suddenly withdrawing 200 million will cause a break in the capital chain. I was thinking whether I should take the initiative to find my disciple and give him a way to admit his mistake. If it weren't for the towering skyscrapers and numerous modern facilities around them, they might have thought they had traveled back to medieval Europe. The old man stood up and bowed to the audience, then walked backstage, with the paper mannequin following closely behind him. Xie Lianxiao was in a dilemma. She came to Meng Zizhen to find out what Meng Zizhen thought of Hu Yujiao. Now it seemed that humans and demons were on different paths, and Hu Yujiao's future was bleak and her love life was bumpy. Xie Lianxiao was racking her brains and getting ready to come up with a new trick when she was suddenly surprised to see the peony on Ling Shuyi's waist slowly blooming. Now that their Zhang family has their Huashan vine, which is stronger than the fish dragon grass in all aspects, why should they worry about not being able to surpass them? Muyu paused and said, from the attack on the organization's branch in the Holy Land Silmar region to the attacks on the organization's branches in the 6 regions, the Shenghui organization, which should have clearly had the upper hand, was successfully ambushed by the Holy Land one after another, which could not help but make people feel frustrated. All the heroes who were waiting in the woody city of Donghai, expecting to see the battle between Jian Zhuohuang and Wang Xianji, came to nothing. Michael immediately spread the snow-white wings behind him, brought the few people under his wings, and released his pure divine power. Before Lai Minute could finish his words, Zhao Lao Ba slapped him, leaving 5 purple handprints on his face. A dazzling white light burst out in the air. After the 3 forces collided, a huge shock wave was released, shaking the trees in the entire dense forest and causing them to sway violently. The Fengyan arena was packed with people and the noise was deafening. All the inner and outer disciples of the Qingyang sect, as well as the menial disciples, ran to the arena early to take seats and watch this intense competition. Later, when he heard that Wei Long was forced to run back to the inner gate through the leaves, he was secretly delighted. He was finally able to keep this fly shut for a long time. He couldn't help but become curious about Marninger. He didn't have the ability before, but now that he has the ability, he wants to make sure that those who care about him don't suffer so much in the winter. He waved his hand to let others continue with their work. Then he picked up Shen Yuxiu and Shen Yulin from among the crowd one by one, walked to the big green guy and put them down. This also led to Shu Mo killing the opponent's wild monsters recklessly, because no one on the opposite side came to find him. In the original work, the Ucher clan was unprepared for the genocide plan set up by the Konoha high-level officials, and the clan leader Fugaku also gave up resistance, resulting in them being wiped out with almost no counterattack. I wanted to check my current ranking in the national level, but everyone had already gathered around me. Even if the other party is willing to tell all the information, we cannot get any useful information. Chapter 19 Shorting Cryptocurrencies. 5 little red flowers can be exchanged for 5 chances to draw a lottery. Ding, the result of this lottery is empty. Ding, congratulations to their host for winning a business opportunity. Ding, congratulations to their host for winning a talent card. Lu Qi finally drew a business opportunity and a talent card. Business opportunity content. In the next 3 days, the digital B currency will show a downward trend, with a cumulative drop of 30% in 3 days. After reading the details of the business opportunity, Lu Qi was ecstatic. Knowing the trend of digital Bitcoin in advance is the fastest way to make money. Meow. How could we, a civet cat clan, feed on rats like you, said Akai unconvinced. While his brain was still thinking about what to do, there was a flash of silver light, and several zombies in front of him suddenly lost half of their heads, and half of what they were holding in their mouths fell off. Not far away, the zombies that were originally rushing towards him madly changed direction and ran to the side. Then, a scream was heard, and everyone looked and saw that it was the scream of the 8th level nascent soul youth who had used his majesty to seriously injure Qianya. The youth flew backwards, spitting out blood from his mouth, and his face looked as if he had seen something horrible when he saw the golden sword in front of Qianya. At the same time, in the temporary gathering place of Huanin Tower suddenly appeared in the core of a mountain range. Then, 6 old men appeared behind Huandizun. Huandizun and the 6 old men sat down in a palace filled with evil energy. After Long Qian left South City, he began to train in the vicinity of South City. The vicinity of South City is a relatively chaotic area, which is an independent area in the deserted city. Warriors below the level of martial sect dare not come to this chaotic area. Am I really going to die this time? Suyi felt a surge of powerlessness in his heart. He really had no strength left. Being able to hold on until now was already his limit. Well, I have decided that from now on, Qinquan sect will be closed for 3 years and will resume operations after 3 years. By then, it will be the day when Qinquan sect will unify all the forces in the north. I hope the 3 elders will inform all the disciples. The strength of this layer of water curtain was far beyond Yifeng's imagination. A grenade could not even tear it apart. No, maybe it was torn apart, but it was repaired again. Felicity did not return to AVI that day, so AVI had to wait alone in the classroom. Now AVI had lost contact with his classmates and had no home to return to, so he could only lie prone and sleep in the classroom. Looking at those sharp eyes that seemed to be able to see through people's hearts, he had no doubt that she had the ability to go into the bathroom alone to save him. Marshala, who was resting, felt strange when he saw Shala suddenly falling from the upstairs. When he learned from Shala that someone else had come in, Marshala came up from the basement with a whoosh. Although I cannot marry you, I can still give you my essence and blood because I am already the God King, Tianyin said softly in his heart. Mu Yi smiled faintly and took a step forward. The same powerful force swept out and collided violently with Xu Xiu's force. However, compared with Xu Xiu's force, Mu Yi's was still a little inferior and was suppressed by Xu Xiu, unable to move. Okay, I'll go now. After I'm done, I'll say goodbye to you in person and then I'll leave. Mu Yi nodded gently and said. He was going to attend the Chen family's banquet and then leave Qingyu City to venture out into the world. Those evil spirits actually want to suck the energy of children. How can we forgive such evil spirits? Yanwu made up his mind and flew to the black cloud to save the children. He walked over, glanced at Jiang Qingluo, and did not stop her. He just sat down on the sofa beside him, poured himself a cup of tea, and drank it slowly. The situation changed drastically, and at the same time an old figure appeared in front of Lingyu. Chapter 20, Drunk. Su Xiangmi went into the kitchen and continued working. She had a focused expression, with her long black hair pinned on top of her head with a large hairpin, revealing her gentle and virtuous charm. She was wearing a pair of white hot pants, which were short and tightly wrapped around her plump buttocks. That pair of snow-white, smooth legs is slightly fleshy, neither fat nor thin, just right. Lu Qi stood at the kitchen door, looking at Su Xiangmi's graceful back, and had an urge to go up and hug her. In his eyes, this neighbor girl was a goddess who was high above everyone else, and he didn't dare to have any blasphemous thoughts. Could it be that such a shabby place could have produced a fire element seed? As more and more people confirmed it, they felt regret and jealousy in their hearts. They regretted that they had not encountered such a good thing, and they were jealous of who had finally snatched the fire element seed. Mr. Lu, please give me a chance. Besides, it's time for dinner now. Zhang Fei did not give up and looked at Lu Fei eagerly. The most important thing is that he made the right bet and got on board Lu Fei. From now on, the status of his Wang Yu sect in the Kunlun realm will only become higher. However, in my opinion, it is not necessarily the spell that worked. It is more likely that the thing that was bothering him yesterday came looking for me, and I was too busy to deal with it, so I let it go for the time being. The facilities in the house are very complete. To be frank, I really like this house, but I can't come up with so much money, otherwise I would have bought it. Zhang Li looked regretful. Everyone looked at each other in bewilderment. If they didn't send troops now, when would they send them? Should they fight this war or not? If someone treats you like this, you can choose not to retaliate on the spot. Instead, you can follow the proper procedures. That way, Boss Rome won't be embarrassed. And it will also make the people behind Zhu Yuanchan speechless. This matter is not something that can be decided whether you want to or not, but it must be done. If the corpse is left alone, it will become more and more powerful, and it will not be so easy to deal with it. If such a thing happens again in the future, it will not only harm the people here. Commander, this is our fully developed plan. A young staff officer stood in front of Zhu Weigua and handed him a notebook. After Zhang Ziming and the Chen family's patriarchs' bodies were entangled by the golden true energy, there was a crackling sound, the membranes were torn, the tendons and bones turned to ash, the internal organs turned to charcoal, and blood flowed out from every pore of the body and fell down. They were already bloody. Just when Xian Yuan Qianxin was worried, the voice of the golden winged Dopeng spread. Xian Yuan Qianxin's eyes focused, and he looked far away, and saw the towering Qinshua mountain clearly appearing in front of him. The quality of the volunteers was uneven, and many of them could only shoot. Moreover, the Ryukyu incident cost these netizens their lives, which was unjustifiable, so Lang Zhan really didn't want to get involved. Sitting on the edge of her bed, Yunju quietly turned on the bedside lamp. Her sister on the upper bunk was still sleeping soundly. Fu Liuyin looked in the direction of the sound and saw a man with both arms red. He seemed to be extremely itchy and was scratching them with his hands. Will the power that retreated back into Li Chao's mind suddenly cause trouble again? What exactly is the trouble that Yabo mentioned? These are all uncertainties. The most disappointing thing was the so-called changing of the guards ceremony of the British Royal Guard in front of Buckingham Palace. Perhaps the ceremony was indeed worth watching, but Jimo and his friends did not see it. The countless tourists densely packed around it discouraged them and they finally gave up the idea of joining in the fun. Xiao Ao's eyes turned, and instantly this guy set his eyes on Liu Wei's funds. If he had more than $9 billion, he could do a lot of things. After seeing the old man's attitude, Shen Junyan retreated very disappointedly, and then stared at Liu Wei fiercely. He believed that it was Liu Wei, the sudden appearance of her boyfriend, who made the old man change his mind, so now he wanted to bite Liu Wei to death. Chapter 21 Party. Now that I have my driver's license, it's time to fulfill what I said in the class group last time. Class monitor, I have already obtained my driver's license. If possible, please inform the students to gather at the Carlton Resort Hotel tomorrow. Lu Chifar sent a message to squad leader Liang Yi. Lu Qi, do you really want to pay for 20 classmates? Liang Yi was surprised. Of course, I have already booked a room, everyone can just go there tomorrow. Lu Qi replied. Seeing Lu Qi's confident words, Liang Yi was shocked. What Qin Hao did not expect was that Du Chuk actually agreed. Not only did he not object, but he also strongly supported Qin Hao's idea. This changed Qin Hao's impression of him a lot. The Celestials did not need to rely on any warships to travel in the universe. They opened space wormholes in front of them one by one and flew in. There was someone pouring water next to me, it smelled a bit fragrant, it was just short of a massage and leg pounding, I felt quite comfortable being flattered by him. Chen Feiyan and Chen Jingxiong both looked at Wang Bing with new eyes. The other policemen were so surprised that they were speechless. What do you call this? Granny Li looked over at me, and I looked at her. I already had some idea in my mind, but the reason I haven't said it out loud yet is because I still lack some key evidence. When the three came into contact, the imagined violent explosion and noise did not occur, but there were bursts of corrosion sounds, which made people's scalps tingle. The Deluo Qianshu was activated, the power of the five elements spread out, and the shadows of the five dragon emperors emerged and suppressed the old man in the golden robe. So Ding Yu could only keep his eyes open and watch the passionate kiss of the two men for a full 20 minutes. Just when he was about to vomit up his overnight meal, the two men stopped their gay passion, put their clothes in order and walked in the direction they came from. However, Ding Yu had long seen through their nature of being fence-sitters, so he continued to ignore them and was closer to Qin Qianlu. Dongyang nodded and immediately disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already above the star that had lost its heart. Then he disappeared again, and this time he appeared directly in the center of the star. After talking with the sword master for a while, the fiery-haired man finally understood some of the situations in the game in the past 6 months. In the game, sanctuaries were booming and demigods emerged one after another, but no true god appeared. Lin Song sneered, pinched his fingers, and the flying sword instantly came back to help. With a jingle sound, the attacking sword was intercepted in an instant. What? The senior archer ran to Sir Rayland and said loudly to him. Of course, the dismantling of the production line only involves dismantling some important parts. It is impossible to dismantle the entire huge production line. Otherwise, even if it takes 10 days or half a month, it will not be able to complete the dismantling. Jiaoteng had already discovered Zhang Li's trail and fled away desperately, not daring to fight with Zhang Li. Count Jura was filled with indignation at the news that King Satli had taken the throne, mortgaged customs duties, and caused the deaths of more than 500 old gentry, and his anger could hardly be suppressed. Wu Ku was still smiling calmly, but the way everyone looked at him was no longer as good as before. Instead, it was as if they were looking at a devil. After his cultivation was destroyed and he became a useless person, Qi Zishu's status in the Qianzhen sect plummeted. After Wu Ku washed his hands, he saw Wu Qianshan, who looked relaxed, gently twisting his waist. But then again, as long as the master doesn't have a quarrel with the emperor, it would be worth it for them as servants even if they get scolded and punished. Yuan, she heard a man's voice. She turned around and saw a man in a suit. Yuan, she searched her memory and remembered that he was the monitor of their high school class and the only one in their class who was admitted to Beijing Capital University. Chapter 22. Their whole class was shocked. Yang Qingling would not have originally come to attend such a party. But one day, she accidentally saw news about Lu Qi in the class group. So, she came too. For a moment, Yang Qingling became the undisputed focus of the entire audience. Xialina clenched her teeth in jealousy. Under the brilliance of Yang Qingling, she seemed dull. Even her boyfriend Yi Duan stopped paying attention to her after Yang Qingling appeared. Yi Duan also pursued Yang Qingling, but Yang Qingling ignored him. Fang Han put the golden needle back into the box and patted Jiang Yuan on the back of his neck. A torrent of hot liquid rushed in, as if washing his entire body. He noticed that the car behind him started to speed up, so he accelerated violently. Not wanting to be hit, the Mercedes-Benz rushed out like a gust of wind, creating a distance between them. Not long after, as Zhu Ju watched, the patterns and symbols on the hull of the gorgeous silver-white ship, which were as numerous as stars, disappeared completely. The entire hull lost all its luster and even had a sense of age. This feeling was becoming increasingly obvious, and the reverse flow of time seemed to be accelerating on this ship. Zhu Ju felt it and looked surprised. The 9 infants beast that had been refined day and night in the palace was finally coming to an end and was about to succeed. Of its 4 heads, only the last one still had a faint resistance. Xu how do you feel? Yu Xuanyu asked with concern when he saw Xu Yan's pale face. Stay here. As soon as the fire is out, go find Songtsen Gampo. If he's alive, I want to see his body. Even if he's burned to death, I want to see his ashes. After all the generals went to grab the floating treasure, Hu Junji said to his trusted guards with a serious face. To be honest, Fatty never wanted to deal with someone like Red Wolf. Red Wolf gave him the impression of being arrogant, overbearing, and scheming. He could even keep a smiling face after Fatty and the others humiliated him on the spot. This alone was enough to make Fatty feel a chill down his spine. Come out, my disciple, let these ignorant guys see your style. The blood demon raised his hand and snapped twice at the void. In Xian sect, only Hua Qingwu and 3 others are half-step sword kings. It is not worth it for all of them to take action. These 4 are more than enough. Brother, my name is Tu Hongbin, you can just call me Shanpao. Thank you. Come to my place for dinner in the future, it's free. The Axle Man said generously. The huge flames gathered into a fire tornado that seemed to connect heaven and earth. The raging fire burned and rotated violently, and the terrifying heat spread in all directions. As soon as you got close, you felt as if you would be burned to death. After Li Dalong joined the Sword Clan, stories about him were also circulated in the Sword Clan's main city, especially the day when Li Dalong defeated Jian Wushang. He became the god of war in the hearts of countless Sword Clan disciples, and each of them regarded Li Dalong as their goal and idol. If they were still laughing and whistling at the first 2 times, then when Lu Shiyu said, "I love you," for the 3rd time and kissed her, no one laughed anymore. As expected, she is his wife, she knows him too well. But as a superior, this understanding is also what he hates the most. Have you recovered from your injuries? Yun Jing glanced at the 9 people from the 3 sects of Mo, Xie and Ming who were seriously injured by the Grand Elder, and said in surprise. She believed that this was not a story that Lin Feng had made up, because all the students in Class 8 of Grade 3 knew that Suman had a mother who had been in the hospital all year round. If Lin Feng had not said these words, she really would not have known that Suman's mother had recovered from her illness and been discharged from the hospital. Lin Xiao frowned slightly. Zi Wang had fought with people from the Temple of Destiny before. That meant that there were powerful martial emperors in the southeastern branch of the Temple of Destiny. In this way, without outsiders noticing, the strongest alliance in the fight for the throne, the 80-95 combination, was officially formed and became an unshakable force that influenced the subsequent process of the fight for the throne. Chapter 23 Water Park Party. Yang Qingling was also very surprised. How much property does this boy have under his name? First he was the owner of a driving school, then he was the owner of Huazhong Culture, and now he is the owner of Carlton Resort Hotel. Lu Qi, what kind of person are you? Looking at Lu Qi's confident and sunny face, Yang Qingling's eyes sparkled with a strange light. When she met Lu Qi in the 3rd subject, she felt that this boy was a bit mysterious, and when she met him again in Huazhong Culture, she wanted to know more about this boy. At this moment, whine. But the call couldn't get through, he got upset and just threw the phone at the door. Even the commentator sat up straight and took back what he said in the first half. The second half of the game was not garbage time, but a truly exciting time. Seeing that their May Day holiday was about to end but they had gained nothing, Lin Qianyu felt very sad. Li Zuer had to say that if she hadn't been captured, this would indeed be a perfect world. Zhuo Qi pretended to be embarrassed for a moment before getting into the car with Lin Qianyu and the others. Lin Qianyu looked up and saw Shen Annie dancing with An Mingho with light and graceful movements. "Shina, I'm really innocent. I didn't know she would do this." Bei Minghan hurriedly explained. The next day, Lian Yin finally upgraded her disciple uniform and put on the black and white uniform. Then, she said, "Momo, do you have time to come out and play with me on Sunday? At this time of year, all the red leaves on Yunshan Mountain are red, and the scenery is so beautiful. Let's go and see it together." Liu Yanghe glared and slowly took the cigarette from Yi Xiao's hand. Yi Xiao hurriedly took out his lighter and lit it. The so-called compassion is that you do something when there is no need to do it. Or in other words, you intervene when there is no need to meddle in other people's affairs. It's something like this, Leng Jing explained. Yi Xiao nodded to show that he understood, then narrowed his eyes and looked at the wound on the ancient dragon's right wing. In the middle of the magnificent back hall, an old man of the same age stood with his hands down, reporting something. HMPH. Seeing Ji Cheng blocking an arrow, Yiku's expression did not fluctuate at all. Then he snorted coldly, and then he bent the bow and shot another arrow, carrying even more powerful power. Then Zhe opened his bloody mouth and blew gently. The wind, fueled by the fire, formed a spectacular fire tornado that rolled towards Yi Xiao. After the court session ended, Prince Yu secretly ordered the eunuchs stationed in the palace to keep a close eye on the emperor and find out when he would copy the poem. Jiang Feng and Feng Du felt very uncomfortable watching the mess on the scene. They didn't expect that more than 100 people would all die in the battle. What kind of determination made them fight so madly? On the Guanmelong road that connects Xixiang City to Darming Imperial City, the young man and Center Lanlan sat comfortably in a shaking carriage. In fact, this time Najeshitan is not going directly to the headquarters. Her own idea is to go to Barutz first to see the development of the so-called celestial cult, and then go to the Revolutionary Army headquarters. At the same time, the 3 blood lotus marks that appeared around Ishigo were constantly colliding with each other. The powerful spiritual power from the moon spirit on Ishigo's body continued to stimulate Ishigo's potential, and the 3 blood lotus marks were also affected and began to grow larger. Chio's younger brother, Ibai, and the one-tailed Jinchuriki, a total of 3 people. Chen said simply. Since Nagato had covered his eyes with his hair to conceal it, Hanzo did not notice the abnormality of Nagato's eyes. His breath is emotionless, his spirit is absent, his body is light, his words are light, his steps are light. He muttered to himself and repeated the words spoken by Ishigo. Although Connor still had no expression on his face, his eyes were obviously slightly shaken. "Don't worry, Commander. I'm ready and just waiting for your order. Tomorrow the whole world will know about this. The island country has finally surrendered unconditionally. This is definitely a great victory in our history." Liu Shiyin responded loudly. Chapter 24 Liu Qi, Don't Bully Me. From childhood to adulthood, Yang Qingling has heard countless compliments on her beauty, so much so that she has become immune to such words. But now when she heard Liu Qi praising her, Yang Qingling felt a little shy for some reason. "Liu Qi, where did you fill in your college entrance examination application?" Yang Qingling chatted. "Nansha University, majoring in business administration. What about you?" "I applied to Nansha Film Academy, majoring in acting." Liu Qi was a little surprised when he heard this. Although Nansha Film Academy is a good art school. But Yang Qingling. "No need, just stay at this table and continue eating. I don't want to eat your leftovers." Liu Qianhao said with a smile, turned around and walked to another empty table and sat down. The man's voice was so deep and charming that it could make fish sink to the depths of their bodies. It contained an indescribable sexiness. "I'm not afraid of you. Since I'm in this line of work, I've become indifferent to my life. It doesn't matter," Ping Ping said as she followed me with her head raised. The old butler had already prepared the carriage outside the mansion. Mrs. Shen just stepped on the footstool and found that Shinsong was leading the peach horse to his stepson, and the stepson had already lifted his robe and stepped into the stirrup. "Let's order the signature dishes, glutinous rice cake and white fungus porridge." Liu Qinyi ordered 2 dishes. She didn't eat much at night, so if she ate here, she wouldn't need to eat again when she returned home. Just as Qin Isan was thinking about Ren Xinyan's intention, his cell phone rang with a text message alert. "Now everyone is sitting here, including Li Juanxiu's uncle, aunt, and brother. It would be embarrassing to make a wish." This time, the tone was much sharper than all the previous words combined, and it frightened Mui so much that her shoulders trembled slightly, and she looked at Ji Hong with slightly fear in her eyes. "Uncle Lu, let me help you." Sinan walked into the kitchen and helped Yang Yuan. Although he was not skilled in washing and cutting vegetables, he was very serious. Such programs are full of truth and falsehood, and the audience just wants to have a laugh and will not pursue whether the so-called passers-by are real or fake. Lin Jizi was filled with emotion and looked up at the ceiling. The old man tried his best not to think about those bad things. The Aishin Ryu is one of the ancient schools of Iaido, and it is said to have been founded by Haryashizuki Jinseki Minamoto Shijinobu during the Warring States period. Haryashizuki was passed down to the 7th generation, Hasegawa Eiji, and was further developed. In addition to the potions class, Harry also did not plan to attend divination class next year. After all, no one could stand being predicted to die by the professor in almost every class. Yuan Qianxiao of the Luo sect had fought with Lu Chai before. The couple was unable to defeat him and was severely injured by him for half a year. The Holy Dragon King demands a change in the current situation between humans and demons, refuses to allow humans to enter the demon realm at will, and demands that the borderless world be turned into a battlefield rather than a hunting ground for humans. Section Chief Chen's full name is Chen Shu, and Director Shu's full name is Xu Jifeng. Both of them are from Changsha's health system. Look at those old monsters, such as Grandpa, who has no idea how old he is, but still has the appearance of a young man. After all, I'm very likely to have messed up their mentality, so it's easy to understand why they want to retaliate. When Yuying took a sip of the coffee in her hand and shook her head, thinking that it was not certain. Then she remembered that she was still in need of a design team leader. Seeing Chu Yuning's eyes light up, she thought that maybe she could let this girl have a try. It was still dreaming sweet dreams while holding the white jade radish, but it didn't expect that suddenly a bolt of lightning struck from the sky, directly burning its white jade radish to pieces. Fu Jinxiu's sharp eyes swept towards Nan Wan, and his black eyes suddenly became deep and cold. Fu Yang deliberately blew himself up, and even the guests around heard his accusation that seemed to be righteous, and they couldn't help but look at Nan Wan with various eyes. When Xing Hongyi was fighting with the two ghosts, it took advantage of the opportunity to rush into the spirit beast bag. After entering, it suddenly felt calm and at ease. Seeing the chaos at the scene, Nan Wan caught a glimpse of pride that flashed across the general manager's elegant face, and his brows turned slightly cold. Chapter 25 Friendship. Although Lu Qi is now drunk and unconscious. But what is said when drunk also reflects what is in a person's mind. This means that when playing on the water slide during the day, Lu Qi had thought about rubbing her butt in his heart. Thinking of this, Yang Qingling's cheeks turned hot and she felt extremely shy. So you're a bad guy too? Yang Qingling bit her red lips and glared at Lu Qi coquettishly. But then again, she was also responsible for this matter. If it wasn't for playing on the slide, she would need Lu Qi to hold her. Renault, who had just overdrawn his strength to launch a large-scale attack, failed to avoid the blood priestess Gloria and was immediately shrouded in a formless blood mist. What's more, Eric Moore had no idea whether the terrifying alchemical dragons behind him had prepared for the next round of attacks. If there was another round of attacks as powerful as the previous one, it would be unclear whether he could withstand it in his current state. There was a flash of fire, and the earth and rocks piled on the wooden cart were blown into scattered smoke and dust, and a hole was opened in the thick wooden board. It is also from here that the story begins to unfold and becomes a battle between a group of old gangsters and the second generation of the new era. However, he had already anticipated this method of mental detection. If his methods could not even isolate mental power, then he, Morales, would not deserve to be called the hymn of silence. However, now that things have come to this, there is no point in thinking too much. The most important thing is to remember this mistake and get through this difficult time. Zhu Qiang relaxed for a while, and his mind became active again. He thought that Xu Mo was just a weak businessman and he didn't need to be afraid of him at all. As a warrior of the third level of the Earth Yuan realm, was he afraid that he couldn't control him? The best way to hide a leaf is to put it in a pair of leaves. Then the best way to hide a corpse is to put it in a pile of corpses. In this way, the information related to the corpse can be best preserved. These memory fragments seemed to exist in Jinlong's mind, but for some reason they flooded into Ji Yuyun's mind. Fortunately, most of them were invalid, but the few valid memories were too much for Ji Yuyun's mind to bear. HMPH, everyone can brag, but can you defeat me now? Your situation is not much better than mine. Li Tianfeng said without showing any weakness in his voice. Like Steve Jobs and Kobe Bryant, both of them participated in the dunk contest in the early stages of their careers, when they were not yet the best in the league. The sea water was becoming shallower and shallower, and Lu Xiaoya's thoughts were overwhelming. There was no human figure within a radius of 200 meters. You can only become an apprentice and let the master teach you step by step. At least you have to become a real warrior and officially enter the martial arts world before you can try to practice on your own. Brother, do you know where my Xuanwu stove is? The fire dragon asked with glowing eyes instead of answering Lu Xiaoya's question. Jiang Guana led the way. After walking for a while, they passed a narrow road and finally stopped in front of a big hole. The Huanzhong and Dalu music, the Buddhist chanting, the ancient gods reciting scriptures, the banished immortals praying, and the sacrifices of all living beings were all suppressed. After Chen finished speaking, he naturally looked to see if there were any changes on the other side. At this time, Welsh half opened his mouth and looked at the young man in front of him who was about the same age as his child. He actually thought of a possible arrangement in such a short time. The point is, many people call him Brother Hainan as soon as they see him, and this can never be erased, which means that he is marked in the subconscious mind. Brother Xiao, take care on your journey. Don't worry, unless we die, we will bring the things to Heishui village intact. Yang Zishir promised solemnly. Zhang Jijin rolled his eyes at Li Jiahang. He wouldn't believe what he said. This man was born to be in the entertainment industry. He deliberately avoided the shooting range of the enemy mags and archers, fighting and retreating, swinging his sword continuously, chopping down the greedy wolf riders one by one. Chapter 26 Sisters. Su Luzi is actually Su Xiami's sister. But Lu Qi didn't know at this time. I'm so sorry. Your car flipped over because I was chasing the wild boar. Su Luzi apologized again. It's okay, you didn't mean it. Lu Qi waved his hand and asked, aren't you afraid of such a big wild boar? Su Luzi replied, I'm not afraid. I have encountered wild boars countless times since I was a child. Lu Qi had to admire the girl's courage. If he were to ask himself, he probably wouldn't have the courage. Back then, it took him 10 or even more than 10 years to absorb all of Jin Julan's inheritance, memories, and soul. So, Suwana didn't move, letting Yi Jinji hold her in his arms. Anyway, it was cold under the eaves, and his embrace was very warm. Of course, his breath smelled good, with a hint of lemon. As some people have said, in fact, many cats can tell at a glance whether you like it or not. The problem is that they don't care at all. Looking at the rituals performed by the lizardmen priests, it seems that they are using their half-elves to perform some kind of ancient and evil flesh and blood sacrifice. What is it about the half-elves that attracts them, and the evil gods standing behind them? Murphy nodded, then picked up the list and read it item by item to the Pandar wine master, who looked very uncomfortable. Tang San suddenly realized that his feelings towards the master were not gratitude at all, but like a family member, and nodded quickly. He took out the green mask used by the Shrek 7 devils from the 24 Bridges Moonlit Night and put it on his face. It was the first time for those suitors to see Shu Jia like this, and they were all speechless. The muscular man also struggled to stand up, and faced with the obviously angry Shu Jia, he didn't even dare to breathe. If you want to get tickets, you can either get them as a gift when you buy an album or other related products, or as a reward for participating in some activities. Of course, there are also a lot of tickets in the school. The Dance of Chaotic Cloaks. What he was dancing in the angel realm at this moment was exactly, or in other words, his own soul skill. After everything was sorted out, Jingtan went out with a bag of thumb biscuits in his mouth, swiped his access card, and came to a sycamore tree beside the cement road of the East District family compound, and climbed up the tree. There was a fist-sized hole at the third forked branch, and Jingtan put the key and access card in it, and then grabbed 2 leaves to cover it. "Disciple, what's wrong with you?" Zhang Zhankui frowned slightly and asked when he saw Han Muxiar in such an embarrassed state. Upon learning that the father and son had arrived, the 4 brothers Fukuroku, Shoshi, and she hurried to the door to greet them with sincere smiles on their faces. Just as he finished speaking, suddenly, the great hall in the center of the imperial capital trembled violently, and in the air, faint golden halos gradually gathered, and gradually, a dazzling and gorgeous golden dragon throne slowly appeared in the air. Leah cried so hard looking for her mommy. Could she really let it go? Or was she just pretending to be indifferent? 3 sounds that were far louder than the previous ones gradually sounded. The old man not far away looked at Lin Fei with a sigh, but at this time he seemed to be exhausted. His aura instantly weakened and was gradually taken back into his body by Lin Fei, returning to his original state. In Han Jinyong's heart, he actually wanted to make the strong man suffer more, but he could not disobey his master's orders. After hearing his master's words, he immediately let go and jumped aside. The cashier nodded fearfully and quickly laid down on the table pretending to take a nap, but her trembling body betrayed her. I don't know if my uncle found out and asked someone to lock the door, or if he just said it casually. Don't keep us in suspense. What exactly are you up to? Yi Qingtang vaguely guessed what Ling Yang wanted to do, but he couldn't be sure. Liu Che was skeptical. Is there such a good thing in the world? Can you achieve immortality by worshipping a god? Chapter 27 School Beauty Teaches Fishing. In Su Lu's eyes, Lu Qi is both brave and resourceful. Having the guts to use a shovel to drive Yi Wu away is courage. Proposing to use 1 million to reconcile with Yi San and others not only delays time, but also increases the sentencing of Yi San and others. This is a conspiracy. Lu Sai, I think you should come with me into the city and live with your sister. Although Yi Wu's problem was solved, Lu Qi still felt a little unsafe for a girl to live alone in such a secluded place. Su Luzi understood that Lu Qi was concerned about her safety, and she felt a little warm in her heart, but even those people from the Golden Dragon dynasty are unable to resist the dark energy of the Hu-Tu realm. Chu Zedi's own strength is slightly insufficient now, otherwise why would he borrow the realm of others? Coach Matsumoto nodded slightly, shifted his gaze to the ace Shimazaki on the left, and spoke in a solemn tone. Ren Yunshu stopped talking immediately. He just frowned slightly, looking unhappy. He said angrily, "It's up to you. I don't care." Then he put the jade token back into the body. The Xianhuang pills of perfect color are of little use to those with cultivation levels and realms above martial sect, unless there are very large quantities. Zhou Wei left in response. Ji Qiao saw Ren Yunshu rubbing her lower back, so she went over and gently massaged it for her. Ji Qiao was very talented in massage, and her strength was neither too light nor too heavy. Ren Yunshu could not help but moan in comfort. Moreover, the academy has the same origin as the Qiandao League. As a result, Duanmu Qingfeng actually also possesses some of the Qiandao aura that Chu Zi possesses, and it can even be said that the aura is purer than Chu Zi's. I'll give you full marks for the first training class and reward you by making you my royal guard next time. After saying this to Qing Xian, he ignored Xue Feng's reluctant expression and started eating the wolf meat in front of him. Qi Si said with a solemn look in his eyes, and Yiling looked at him with a gleam of light in his eyes. It seemed that both sides had recovered, but Chu Zi's grey aura still felt a little unable to sustain the consumption. The opponent's recovery was slowly increasing, causing Chu Zi's grey aura to slowly increase as well. The Halloween Dragon King frowned, sat down on the golden throne, and asked in a loud voice. Huge and hideous cracks were all over the mountain, countless buildings collapsed, and deep pits like meteorites and traces of burning destruction could be seen everywhere. As for the few people who were scolding Lin Fan before, their legs went limp and they collapsed to the ground. Even if he got some good fortune in the ancient emperor's secret realm, he would not be able to break through to the martial ancestor realm. So, I ask you to get the first place. Otherwise, it would be a shame for your body. Yun Qiankong said with a smile. The curtain-lifting General Shao Wujing roared silently, and his entire body turned into a huge stream of quicksand. However, these spatial forces could not stop Li Yang's teleportation. The void realm allowed Li Yang to enter a wonderful world, which seemed to be another layer of space, not restricted by the spatial forces of these saints. Li Yang's expression was also dull, with a look of disbelief on his face. The supreme ancestor of the human race, the supreme god who created chaos, was suppressed by the origin of the universe so easily. Then what was the purpose of him spending so much effort to leave behind this power? Wasn't it just to help the human race at a critical moment? Even for a Shen-level weapon refiner, it is impossible to upgrade the grade of a spiritual weapon that has already been refined. At this moment, in the Emperor's palace, a figure with a pale face flew out from the teleportation hall. Don't be nervous, they are just watching the ceremony. It's the same as other people who come to watch the ceremony. Mrs. Xie said with a smile. It's a pity that not only is she not working for China, she is also betraying China. We must not let her go if we have the chance. I just don't know if her leaving will bring trouble to Qinzhuo. The brush swooped down and swung its tail violently, almost hitting the flying car, but it was still a little short of the target. Chapter 28, Clever and Skillful, Caught a Big Fish. Brother Lu Qi, this hat is for you. Su Luzi handed Lu Qi a straw hat and put one on herself. Wearing a straw hat, Su Luzi looks like a country girl. After preparing the fishing gear, the two set out to go fishing. The fishing gear is very simple, for homemade bamboo fishing rods and a homemade net bag to protect the fish. Lu Qi found that these bamboo fishing rods were very tough and were probably as good as some commercial fishing rods. He asked curiously, Lu Sai, did you make these fishing rods yourself? Sulu point. After everyone heard Commander Liang's angry curse, a rope ladder was lowered from a hovering helicopter. The height of 50 meters was equivalent to that of a dozen floors. It's not that I was in a bad state. It's that I didn't cooperate well during the filming. The director was always dissatisfied and many takes failed. Zhu Zun said, sticking out his tongue. Blood-transforming divine sword. Wu Fan waved the heavenly martial divine sword and swept it towards Immortal Huangjin. However, Immortal Huangjin retreated to avoid Wu Fan's attack because of the blood-transforming divine sword. He waved his hand and asked Wu Fan to wait before fighting. Naylin Minner said in agreement, yes, Aunt will have to rely on this fat uncle when she goes back. You don't have to worry about Aunt, you can just follow the fat uncle and Aunt won't worry. Naylin Minner said. He then put the barbecue aside, held the guitar in his arms, sat on a high stool, and began to talk and sing. What's going on? All the officials in the governor's office, including Zhao Erkson, were shocked when they saw the soldiers rushing in. After leaving Shouchuan, the tomb raider Jin Ren went straight to the old nest in the south of the city. Of course, this place has been blocked by Zhuxi's mysterious Taoist formation, and no one can enter. She certainly knows that it is impossible to break the formation with her level of formation. She just wants to find her eldest brother to tell him something. They will only act according to their original plan. What we need to know now is the specific time when they will launch the attack. Juadui calls Lin Yi dad and calls herself mom, so doesn't that mean that Lin Yi and herself are husband and wife? There were a few green cucumbers, a fairly fresh cabbage, a big round pumpkin, and a bag of rice. If Aunt Lan were to think about it, marrying into a noble family and becoming the mistress would be much better than going to that shameful place. Lin Zidan's heart moved, thinking that maybe there was news about Lin Shanshan or Lin Guodong, so he dialed the number immediately. However, the other end still didn't answer the call. He had no choice but to reply with a text message, saying that he was Lin Zidan and asked who the other party was. Hey, what's inappropriate? Come on, come on. Yu Feiyang stuffed the 3 invitations into Shumorchio's big bag of clothes. Seeing Gao Jingyun crying, Gao Fei suddenly panicked. He knelt down and crawled to Gao Jingyun and hugged him. Young Master Zhao, who was hiding under the window, was so angry that he almost jumped up and gave him 1,000 years of death. When they learned that Qin Feng's fleet had returned, Jilanuyer led all the officers of the new Earth Star base to line up at the Star Gate early. Officials from the Severia Star also came upon hearing the news, and even some fanatics also came on spacecrafts, and they were all waiting at the airport to welcome them. Bu Nan, who was walking in the front, didn't know that at this moment there was a man who was ventriloquially vowing, "No one but me can be worthy of her." Before the meal came, Lin Junyi suddenly remembered that his cell phone was out of battery. He cleared his throat, gave a common excuse to Bu Nan, who was curled up on the sofa and drinking juice nonchalantly, and left the private room. Gao Yuan's grandfather was a big boss in Dongshan, the province where Tinzhou is located not long ago. Although he has retired now, his influence still remains. In the past, I was only thinking about dealing with Shuiying, and my mind was not on cultivation, let alone any extra emotions. Today, I experienced firsthand what it felt like to be protected by so many people with their lives. Chapter 29: A Surprise for Parents. It was already 2 o'clock in the afternoon when we returned to Su Lu's house. Su Lu Sai went into the kitchen and started making lunch using the catch. Lu Qi was not idle either, helping out on the side. Braised grass carp, crucian carp and tofu soup. Su Luzi is a good cook, especially good at cooking fish, and the kitchen is filled with fragrance. Lu Sai, your cooking skills are better than your sister's. Lu Qi chatted. When Lu Chigang met Su Xiangmi 2 years ago, Su Xiangmi was still a novice in cooking. My father used to be in good health. After sleeping for an unknown amount of time, Mayadan suddenly woke up from his sleep and discovered that the ground beneath him was shaking. That was the noise caused by the horse galloping. As a herdsman and warrior who had spent half his life on horseback, he could naturally feel it easily. Forget it, I won't think too much about it. Roy felt that the more he thought about it, the further away he would go. In fact, there was no need to think about it. It would be better for him to focus on his current situation. Wen Bo smiled and nodded towards the man's back, then continued playing the guitar without stopping his singing. The two didn't have much contact, but they were familiar with each other. Han Geng also left a good impression on Song Zheng, but this unfortunate kid was too noisy. No matter what you say, I will not participate in this screening. Now that it has come to this, Shi Yi is not a person who is afraid of trouble. He has been making trouble in mining for so long, and he is not afraid of making things worse. Now that everything has been brought out, he is willing to sacrifice his life. Looking at Kim Nam Cheol's flamboyant technique, I knew I had no chance of stealing the ball from him. My brain might be more flexible, but some things are not innate, such as skills, which are formed through hard training. This is the case with Kim Nam Cheol's ball control skills. They are all ruling races, playing projection games from time to time, projecting from the center of the star cluster to the edge of the star cluster, either on vacation, controlling a planet, or causing destruction. This wicked place was located in an alley and cars couldn't get in. Song Jin could only park his car at the entrance of the alley and run all the way inside. It took him a long time to find the storefront. Sheng Yuqing leisurely admired the pair of flawless white hands with a smile on his face. He watched them stop and start in the air, but he was not in a hurry at all. Wang Hai really couldn't resist this temptation. He had to make the call. Thinking about it, he picked up the phone and dialed Song Jin's number. In a time when it was extremely difficult for others to earn even 1,000 yuan, the amount of money Cai Dashir received as a retiree was indeed astonishingly high. There was confusion in the eyes of the two big men, Yang and Li, but the prestige that seventh uncle had built up over the years still made them follow. But under this hidden silence, the destructive beam emitted by the destroyer armor was shattered into pieces by the powerful blow of Thor's hammer. The man lying on his side on the green tiles of the eaves shook the wine in his wine gourd. He was obviously drunk and his eyes were blurry, but he still couldn't fall asleep. He found that when he was watching attentively just now, his mind was extremely focused, and every movement of squad leader Fan seemed to be slowed down and decomposed. Emperor, there is no need for verbal dispute. You and I are both people of noble status. I want a carriage. Wanyan Zongbing said. He has experienced the vast sea of stars, gone on adventures that others may never experience in their lifetime, been a hero, a leader, and even found an encounter of his own. Zhang Hanan may not be tempted, but there are many people who are tempted. Old comrade Ding Yang is also tempted, because if there really is a bank, many operational matters will be quite convenient. There was a sudden storm outside with thunder and lightning. The rapid raindrops rushed in at an angle, soaking the ground. And this is only the first half. If you use the second half, you can take out your own shadow and make it temporarily transform into yourself to confuse others and enemies.